Welcome to the Sons of UCF, a unique UCF podcast experience. Now, say hello to Adam and Mike.
All right, here we go. Episode number 102 of the Sons of UCF. Welcome back in. My name's Adam. As always, I've got UCF Mike with me. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing a lot better this week. I will say the week off has helped calm me down a little bit. I'm ready to go again.
Okay, so Mike is better. That's good. A melancholy Mike last week. The energy level was low, but I feel like this week we're going to rebound, and we'll get into all that good stuff. We've got, obviously, it's a bye week, no game this past Saturday, so we won't do game notes, but don't you worry. We have UCF observations. We have, maybe we're going to break out cow or no cow later on. Mike's picks of the week will be here. We've got something new. Mike is not prepared for this yet because I haven't told him, but he's going to fill in the blank. So you're going to want to stay around for that. But let's get oriented before we start off here. If you're listening to us, we appreciate you for doing that. You can find us on any and all podcast platforms. If you're on some of those podcast platforms, I don't know, Mike, let's say like Apple Podcasts, you know, maybe they could give us a nice little rating and review. What do you think about that idea?
No, that sounds great. Yeah, any review we get helps us. Even, I guess the reviews doesn't matter what they actually say, right? Because as long as we get a review, the rating is what counts. So when I get 5 stars, but the more reviews, the better, right? And if you want to help us out and critique us a little bit, I'm down for some of that too. You know, not everything has to be, just throwing smoke up our butts and telling us how great we are. Tell us what you think about the show.
Remind me later to ask you about smoke up the butt there. So ratings, reviews, we'll take all those. Make sure you find us on all the social media platform deals, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We are on all of those at Sons of UCF. We also have our own little Facebook group, Sons of UCF, and our own sort of personal Facebook page. It's Adam Mike Sons of UCF. So find all of us on that. Find Mike on Twitter at UCF Mike 1. Those are all the accounts you need to follow. Oh, check out our YouTube, by the way, too. We have a YouTube channel, Sons of UCF. You'll be able to stream our pregame show live each and every game day before the game kicks off. You can find us there, myself, Mike, and our good old buddy, Trace Trilko. Hello, everyone. So make sure you check out that. I think that's a lot of housekeeping stuff off the top, Mike. Did I miss anything? I feel like we're everywhere, but yet we're nowhere. How is that possible?
Well, the new stuff is everywhere. The old stuff is nowhere. But we're dragging that joke around.
Yes.
YouTube is cool. We've posted some original stuff on YouTube that we've made over the last couple of years. You know, some of our interview stuff with O'Leary and Saya Burley and Justin Holman. We got some cool clips on there. Some highlights we were the ones who dug out the highlights from the Alabama game in 2000. So that, and along with our pregame show, something you definitely want to subscribe to.
Get there. We're working on some fun stuff too. Hopefully we got a couple of, I feel like we're always the show that doesn't get to do the whole big announcement coming up thing. But hopefully we have some big announcements coming up. We're working on some stuff, a really cool idea. I kind of hope that like whenever we tweet something that like, we've got something good going on that people get excited. I feel like we kind of have like the Josh Heupel bat signal whenever we get like a good recruit. We got something exciting happening. Hopefully people trust us. It's going to be really cool. So we have a couple of cool things coming up too. One thing I haven't done, Mike, in, 96 episodes, but luckily no one knows because those don't exist anyway, is all the music on the show. I keep forgetting to mention this. All the music on the show comes from a friend of mine. He's on an Instagram page where he does all of his own music stuff. If you're on Instagram, find him at Lyrics and Loops. That's Lyrics, the letter N, Loops. All the music is his original stuff, and he lets us use it, and it sounds great. We've added in a bunch of new songs. Mike's got his Picks of the Week song. I actually layered in some songs underneath the ad last week. The intro song is his as well, so make sure you find Lyrics and Loops on Instagram and give him a follow. He's a good friend of mine, and he's a nice guy who lets us use his stuff, and we appreciate that. As always, Mike, I know you seem to have enjoyed the music for your pick segment.
I think it's brought some pretty good luck. We did it the first season. I had a winning record last year we went away from it. I had a losing record, and I'm doing pretty well this week with the music. So let's keep that thing going.
All right. So the music will stay and follow Lyrics and Loops to learn more about that. Okay. I think we've plugged everything we have to plug. So let's start plugging UCF, Mike. Obviously bye week. So for the first time all season, no penalties, which is a great thing for UCF. But we are heading into Memphis, Mike. Big game coming up on Saturday in Memphis. at Memphis, I guess I should say. And obviously we've had a lot of history with Memphis over the past couple of seasons, and usually things have worked out in our advantage. So before we go there, though, you've had a week to sort of decompress from the Tulsa stuff. I know you were one of the folks who were pretty down and were pretty disappointed about what this signaled for the season. Has anything changed for you in the days that have since commenced since the Tulsa debacle?
Well, we all talked coming into the season that this was our year to make the playoff. Everything was lined up for us. The Big Ten wasn't playing. Now they are playing. Teams like the Big 12, the Texas and Oklahoma, they've already got 2 losses each. Everything's lined up perfect. As you see, Cincinnati's already number 8. How high would we be right now? Who knows? It's not even worth discussing anymore. That dream is over. We're not making the playoff this year. But there's still plenty to play for. We still can win the conference. First of all, we have to get to the conference championship game. That's step number 1. And it all starts now, this week, with an elimination game. I think it's an elimination game between us and Memphis. We both coming off a loss this past week. And if you have 2 losses, you're going to have a very hard time making the championship game. You got teams like SMU, who haven't lost a game. Tulsa hasn't lost a game. Cincinnati hasn't lost a game. Yes, we have head-to-heads with Cincinnati, but we don't get to play SMU, and we already lost to Tulsa. So if we lose another one, it's going to be very difficult for us to make it to the championship game.
Memphis is currently, to your point, 1-1. They beat Arkansas State September 5th and didn't play for pretty much a whole month. They had games canceled and rearranged and all this other good stuff, and finally get back in the field Saturday, October 3rd, where they lost 30-27 at SMU. So they've only had two games, Mike, and so you wonder if there's any rust. You wonder if that helps them. You wonder if they're going to be healthier. Obviously, on the health perspective, Josh Heupel was in front of the media today, and we'll do some translation for you later on. He was asked about a lot of guys. He was very non-committal. Somebody, I think it was Brandon Helwig, I think, asked him about the running backs, referencing Otis Anderson, Greg McCrae, and Ventavious Thompson, all of whom were banged up against Tulsa. And he also threw Richie Grant in there for good measure. And Heupel's like, yep, we expect all those guys to be back. So I assume that means those guys are playing. When asked specifically about Trey Nixon and Marlon Williams, he was less committal and said he did not have an update on those guys. Obviously, we know Trey's situation, Mike. We saw Marlon go down the last play of the game against Tulsa. Don't have any update on that as well. So that's where we are with the injury front, Mike. Do you think? Hopefully these guys are back, right? And this was hopefully the week for them to all get rested and ready to go.
Right. Good news with the running backs. Those guys all seem ready to go. The receivers, I don't know what to make of Heupel's comment. Is that him just not wanting to say anything? Is that gamesmanship with Memphis, not giving them anything? Maybe these guys are playing, maybe they're not. Or is this just bad news and he doesn't want to break it to us yet that these Marlon Williams and Trey Nixon will not be playing? And don't forget, Stretch Cradle has to sit out the first half of this game. That leaves our wide receiver core pretty slim. I mean, we still have some playmakers out there. We got Jalen Robinson, who's had a great first few games here. And we've got a bunch of young guys that now need to step up and do something here in Memphis.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think people forget that about Stretch Cradle. Obviously, he had the world's only offensive targeting penalty I've ever seen. And so he has to sit out the first half of the next game, so he won't be available till post-halftime. Mike, what do you think that the players from a mind frame standpoint are coming in? I think everyone kind of talked about, getting the bad taste out of their mouth from a loss. Are they going to be more focused? Are they going to be more disciplined? We've seen this a few different times under the Heupel regime where they've had to sort of rebound after a loss. They haven't lost back-to-backs under Heupel. So what do you think they are from a mind frame standpoint? Do you think it was a wake-up call? You think this is, are they going to start sleepwalking through the season now because they've got some adversity in front of them?
No, cannot be that. That cannot be the case. They have to bounce back, just like they did last year. After the tough loss in Pittsburgh, they bounced back the next week with a win. The tough loss in Cincinnati came back with a win. Tulsa lost last year, came back and followed that up with a few wins to finish the season. Has to be the same way this week. Has to be a resilient group. Put that loss behind us now. There's nothing we can do about it. We can't go back and get that game back. So we still have everything here in front of us, and it starts this week. And just like a defensive back that gave up a long touchdown, you just got to have a short memory. Forget about it and just move on to the next play, next game, and that's what we got to do starting Saturday afternoon.
Obviously, the last time we were in Memphis was the Let's Go Bone game, where UCF was down at halftime, and Mackenzie Milton came back, and we ended up winning that game, by a point there towards the end. So Tulsa and UCF, or sorry, Tulsa, wow, Memphis and UCF have a history. Mike, Memphis is ready. They've been making some comments about they want to get back at UCF. This is their opportunity. Do you give that any credence? Do you think that this is going to amp up Memphis even more? And obviously going on the road is going to be much tougher. What do you think you're going to get out of Memphis, a team, again, that's 1-1 and coming off a loss themselves?
Oh, yeah, we're getting everything these guys can throw at us. We've beat them 13 times in a row. Only have one loss to them, and that was 30 years ago. You got to go all the way back to 1990, the last time these guys beat us, the only time they beat us. And we've had some really close calls against them. There was a time there where Memphis was just the doormat of the Conference USA East, and we would just stomp on them for years. But then in 2013, we had a very close game. Remember, that's one of our best teams. And it took a stand-back hit on a kickoff, and Dorico Johnson picking it up and going in the end zone. And then even that game wasn't over at that point when they were driving at the end of the game, and Terrence Plummer had to come down with an interception in the end zone. That was the Cardiac Knights. And then, of course, in 2017, the blowout early in the year, and then the championship game that ends up going to overtime, sending us to the Peach Bowl. And then you talked about 2018, the Let's Go Bone game. Follow that up with the conference championship game again, where we're down big in the first half. The Heupel arm flailing, piping up the crowd game, where DJ Mack comes back and scores, 6 touchdowns or something in that game. And that's been what this history is, man. It's a bunch of close games and a bunch of blowouts. So we don't know what to expect. I expect a close game. If you had to pick between the two, I don't think we're going to see a blowout either way this week. So I expect another nail biter coming down to the end.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. This is a must-win, right? I mean, unfortunately, every game's a must-win in some respects, right? But this is literally a must-win game. To your point, it's almost a de facto playoff game this early in the season, because the loser certainly is going to have, if not an impossible road, a damn near impossible road. So UCF's got to bring the juice. I know we had this juiceless or useless crap that Heupel was spitting, and then obviously that did not turn out so well against Tulsa. I mean, this has got to be it, Mike. I mean, this is, I don't want to say this is a tenure defining game for Heupel, right? But it kind of is. If this is his opportunity to say, okay, you know what, we stubbed our toe and we have some things we have to learn, but this is a game where he can cement his coaching ability. And I don't want to put it all on one game, right? Because he's had a couple of good seasons, but it feels like is this not the biggest game in his career yet? Is that hyperbole if I say that?
Well, I mean, I guess the Fiesta Bowl would have been the biggest game as a New Year's Six game against LSU. If he wins that game, then I don't know how you get bigger than that. But to this point now in regular season, I guess it has to be, seeing that we already lost this game, and a loss this week, which would basically knock us out of the championship game, that makes this season a complete disappointment. Because right now, we're not going to make the playoff, but if we can still get to the conference championship game, win the conference, it's still a good season. It's a season you can put up on the stadium wall, 2020 conference champs. That's a good year. Coming into the year, that's got to be the goal every year. If after 4 games, we're basically eliminated from the conference championship game, that's a disappointing year. Any way you scratch it, I don't care if we win the rest of the games, we could still finish 3rd in this conference in the season where we were all predicting us to go undefeated. So if you look at it that way, it could be his biggest game ever. Yeah, you're right.
I mean, I guess the Fiesta Bowl obviously was a bigger stage, bigger magnitude, right? Obviously more people, more eyeballs, New Year's Six game, but that loss, if we had won that game, I don't think we all knew we weren't going to, we weren't in the playoff. We weren't going to get a national championship, right? We were going to go 2 years back to back, probably would have said, another national championship that we would have talked about. But, losing that game, we were all bummed, and it ended the winning streak, but it was still like, hey, you know what, this future, is bright and all these things. This one feels like, this is like, I don't want to do this, the Miami Heat thing, but this one's for the culture, right? This one's for the run and gun, UCF fast, everything that we stand for. This is our opportunity now. We all, and us, me and you included, we all took a hammer last week to Heupel's system, his offense. Is this going to work? And so this one feels like it's sort of for the blueprint, for the entirety of what Heupel is trying to do as a coach. And I don't want to make it seem that big, because ultimately a lot of people hear us say this and go, wait a minute, if we finish the season, 7-2, UCF fans, I mean, there were some years we barely won 2 games, right? I get all that, but those times have changed. And especially in a shortened season like this, with the conferences the way that they are, without playing non-cons, with the American having one less team and all the sort of the tomfoolery that now goes around, Mike. I mean, this feels like it has the potential to be, that defining moment. I guess up until this point, to me, I think the defining Heupel moment was that Memphis championship game where we were getting housed at halftime. DJ Mack had fumbled, I think, 3 times. And, things are looking bleak, and he comes out and he does the arm wave to the crowd and gets everything pumped up. And, before you know it, the tables turn. I think that was the previous, defining moment of Heupel's coaching career. I feel like this is the next one, good or bad, coming up on Saturday.
His 2 biggest wins at UCF have to be the 2 wins against Memphis, right? The Let's Go Bone game, which is still the biggest play call he's made in the last 2.5 years. And then that comeback in the championship game. Those are his 2 biggest wins. What other win does he have that's bigger? I don't think there is one.
What other win does he have that? I mean, Stanford, I guess, would get talked about just because they're a P5, right? Cincinnati, I mean, the college game day atmosphere, but I don't know how good a team that really was. But I guess that would be the other one people would probably point to.
You're right. Okay. I'll give you the Cincinnati one was a good one. The Stanford, I mean, what did Stanford end of the year? 5-6 that last year?
Yeah.
It turns out they weren't that great.
Yes.
But for the big scheme of things, that Memphis game in 2013 at Memphis sent us basically to the championship game, or gave it to us at home, and then winning the championship game. I mean, there's nothing bigger than winning, unless you're going to the playoff or winning the New Year's Six game. Winning the conference championship is the best we can hope for.
Well, the other thing, so we dropped out of the polls. So I know we had been hanging on in a few polls. That bye week really killed us. We fell on out of the polls, which is probably not to be unexpected. I think Memphis is still ranked, aren't they? Still ranked, Mike? I should have looked that up quickly before.
I don't think they are. I
thought they were ranked in one poll. But
maybe receiving votes.
Maybe receiving votes, yeah. But it's a 3:30 kick in Memphis. ABC game, Mike. Another prime time. Another prime spot. I don't want to call it prime time. Another prime spot game for UCF. What do you think? What do you make of the time slot?
Well, that's pretty cool because we figured these 2 teams would both have to be ranked to get that 3:30 ABC game, and here we are. Neither one of us are ranked. We're both coming off a loss, and we still get 3:30 on ABC. So, but it's cool. 3 out of our first 4 games on the big network. Which did we even have? More than 3 games ever on ABC. I know the South Carolina game was once an ABC game, and obviously the New Year's Six games. Actually, the Peach Bowl was an ESPN game, I believe, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And the Fiesta Bowl too, probably.
Possibly, yeah.
And even the first Fiesta Bowl, I think, was an ESPN. So all the New Year's Six games have been, I think, on ESPN. We've had a few ABC games, but now 3 out of the first 4 regular season games, including one against East Carolina. I mean, that's our brand. Over the last couple of years, what we've built up now is the reason we're getting on ABC and why we're not on ESPN Plus like the Cows are every week.
You're correct. Memphis not ranked. They are others receiving votes. They had 12. For context, UCF has 57. So we'll see how this sort of catapults UCF. But obviously, again, Saturday 3:30. A big one. Clear your calendar, clear your schedule, get in front of the TV. If you can't make it to the game, I know Memphis is allowing fans. I think it sounds like a healthy majority of people are trying to get out there to see the game. Obviously, challenges abound with COVID and whatnot, but looks like some folks are going to get out there, Mike. So we will get a crowd on hand, and we'll see how that goes. No matter what happens, though, 2:30 Saturday. Get to your Facebook, get to your Twitter, get to your YouTube, and search up Sons of UCF. We will be with a live pregame show. We've got some unique things we're going to try again. We've had some really good feedback. We've had a lot of fun. So join me, Mike, and Trace this upcoming Saturday, 2:30 Eastern-ish for a live pregame show. Mike, should be another fun one.
Yep. Kind of missed it this week. We didn't get to do it, but I guess we needed that week off to regroup. But yeah, it's going to be cool, man. If you haven't watched the first 3, I don't know what the heck you're doing. Get online, watch the pregame show, get ready for the game with us. 3 guys that love UCF more than anybody, and then we bring on some cool guests every week. I don't know who we have lined up yet for this week. I'm sure we'll find somebody, and it'll be a good time. Better than College Game Day, I think, already.
Yeah. Well, I mean, College Game Day will be over by that time, but don't worry about that. Either way, it's better than whatever crappy noon window game you may get. So watch us, and we'll keep you UCF informed about what's happening. So we don't have a game breakdown, Mike, because there is no game. But don't you worry, I've always got something cooking here. So you have not seen these yet, but I'm going to give you a series of, I think I put 8 here, 8 different statements, and I want you to fill in the blank. Okay, so there will be obviously a word missing, and you get to input the word as you see fit. Do you understand what I'm getting at here? Are you good? Do you have any questions?
Does the answer only have to be one word? Can it be
No,
a phrase?
no, you can.
Are there any rules?
No, you can do whatever you want, my friend.
All right.
Here's
no expletives, I guess, right?
I mean, if they gotta let them fly, you gotta let them fly. What are you gonna do? Here's the first one. Ready? Not having blank on the field this season has been the biggest loss for UCF. Not having blank on the field has been the biggest loss for UCF.
Not having blank. Parker Boudreaux.
Okay.
Because we've seen the offensive line struggles. We've seen the false starts and all of that. If we can get some kind of consistency in the offensive line, and we talked about it going back to week 1, where how many different combinations on the offensive line did we have? And yeah, that's to get guys work and get them to play different positions in case something happens with COVID. Everybody's got to be familiar with different spots. But at the same time, your offensive line has to be a unit that you can depend on, where everybody knows exactly what they're doing at all times. If you have the same 5 in the same spot every week, that automatically will lead to more consistency, more cohesiveness on the offensive line, a lot less penalties, you would think. So I think we miss Parker Boudreaux. We miss him in the run game, opening up holes. That's the first one that popped in my head. Do you have a better answer?
Well, so I tried to anticipate what I thought you might say, right? So you're a trickster. So I thought you'd say not having discipline on the field has been the biggest loss for UCF, the loss of discipline. I also thought you'd go Tay Gowan. I wasn't sure if you'd go Tay Gowan. Our defense has been pretty good. Obviously, our corners are young. Zamari Maxwell's had a couple of moments here and there. And obviously, we're breaking in some true freshmen on the other side with the injuries to Richie Grant and Antoine Collier. I thought Tay Gowan might be another one, but again, defense has been pretty solid. Offensively, I guess Trey Nixon was the other one that you maybe go with. So I thought I had you penciled in for either going off the board with discipline or going with Tay Gowan or Trey Nixon.
Right. Gowan's an interesting one, but yes, like you said, the defense has been causing turnovers every week. So that didn't come to my head right away. I think I went Boudreaux because the offensive line has been basically a disappointment. It's been probably the weakest link so far. And the reason why we couldn't get the ball moving so against Tulsa in the second half. So I think we have him, a veteran on the offensive line, that would help settle things down a little bit more.
All right, here we go. Here's the next one. If UCF had played and beaten North Carolina as they were scheduled to play, the loss to Tulsa would have been blank.
Would have been the same thing. we would have been, instead of number 11 going into the game against Tulsa, we might have been top 10. We might have been 8, 9, but then we would have lost to Tulsa. We'd still be knocked out of the top 25. So it would have been the same thing. It didn't matter who we beat before. It's the fact that we actually lost the game. Everybody would still find that one reason to just knock us off our perch.
Yeah, I actually said it would have been worse, because if we had beaten North Carolina, a team that looks pretty good, their quarterback Sam Howell looks pretty solid. That would have been a good shootout of young quarterbacks in the bounce house. Again, obviously I understand, fans and whatnot could have been a challenge, right? But that would have made the Tulsa loss even worse, because then we're coming in, assuming we played them, assuming we played Georgia Tech, assuming we play ECU, and everything stays the same after that. We'd have been, to your point, a 3-0 UCF team, probably in the top 8, 9 even. Having an opportunity to, continue on our season. This could be our playoff opportunity. And if we had dropped it to Tulsa, I think that would have made me feel worse than I felt last week.
So you would feel worse right now. Everything the same except add in a win against North Carolina.
Yes. Yes.
You see how that doesn't make sense?
I do. I absolutely do. I'm not. This isn't called the Sons of making sense. This is called the Sons of UCF. And for me,
I see.
I would be so upset because then I would know that we were really good. Because if we could dominate and again I said win, I didn't say dominate. If we could beat a North Carolina team that we know is pretty solid and has an opportunity to make some noise in the ACC, and then we go out and lay an egg against Tulsa, I would have been pissed. And maybe that wouldn't have dropped us all the way out. Maybe they'd give us some credit for beating North Carolina, but to know that we were that good and because listen, we knew we didn't play great against Georgia Tech, but we felt pretty good about it. We knew we had some moments against ECU, but we just were too much for them. But if we had put together a great North Carolina win, I think we would have been even more cocky as a fan base, more confident. And then Tulsa would have come in and just right. The sales just go right away.
Well, you said the key thing. If we beat North Carolina, then we would know that we are actually good. Do we know that we're really that good right now, having beat Georgia Tech and East Carolina? We haven't proven it. Those teams are nothing to write home about. So Memphis is going to be our best win if we can pull this off on Saturday. And we have a couple of other opportunities later on down the road with Cincinnati, and Houston is actually looking good after one game. So we have other chances, but right now we have not proven that we're actually good. We're good in our own minds, or we were anyway up until the Tulsa game.
That's a good point. A, I mean, I don't who writes home anymore, but B, that's the thing is I don't know if we know if we're good. I think we all think we're good. I think we know we're supposed to be good. I think we know we have the talent to be good, and I think that's where we kind of are as a fan base. Is like it just feels like wait, why aren't we? We're supposed to be good. This is what we're supposed to do, and I think you're absolutely right. Like we probably don't know if we're good. We should be. All the signs are there. All the players are there. All the talent's there. We've seen it happen before, but putting it on the field consistently is going to be important. And obviously, we have another big opportunity to do that this week, Mike. All right, here's your next fill in the blank. If there is a hot seat for any coach on the staff, it currently belongs to blank.
Toth.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I thought you'd say too.
Because I'm not putting Heupel on the hot seat yet. Now, if you want to say he loses one or two more games and we don't compete for a championship at the end, then the seat's definitely getting warmer. That's for sure. But special teams has been a big disappointment now for a few years. And we've talked about it a bunch of times. Our kick return game has gone downhill in the last few years. We haven't seen any big returns, not just kick returns for touchdowns, but any really big, good returns. Nothing out to the other side of the field to start a drive. Kick coverages haven't been good. Penalties we've had. Missed kick. Our kicking game hasn't been that great. We talked about the kickoffs going out of bounds last year. Special teams all around. The discipline, lack of discipline this past week, throwing helmets from our long snapper. I think. I
still can't believe that happened, by the way. How did that happen? It's like he thought it was the football. What did he think? I don't even. All right, never mind.
That was like a Roger Clemens throwing the bat at Piazza moment.
Yes.
And Randy Shannon, everybody gets on him for first half, Randy second half, Randy. Overall, the defense has been pretty solid. We create turnovers, keep us in all the games. I'm not going to put Heupel on the hot seat. I'm not going to put Shannon on the hot seat. So I guess I have to go with Toth. I
figured Toth or Ellerby is where you'd go.
Ellerby, yeah.
Ellerby, though, obviously there's a relationship with Coach Heupel, and not that I, don't think that Heupel would make a decision if it was in the best interest of the team and the program. I don't know how I feel about that one. Here's the other thing that people should remember with Coach Toth. When Frost left in 17, the season after, the next season, 18, so Heupel's first year, was the first year that they allowed another assistant coach to be on the staff. So another full-time coach position was added. For those who remember, UCF's special teams under the Frost era was actually coached by Jovan DeWitt, who was actually also the linebackers coach. So there wasn't even a dedicated special teams coach for those 2 seasons. And yet, to your point, we were explosive. We had Mike Hughes, which helps out a lot. We were running some of these tricks, swinging gate formations, right? It looked like we knew what the hell we were doing on special teams. And now we have an actual coach who is dedicated to the special teams. I'm sure he has more responsibilities than that, of course, but he's essentially working with the specialists in that unit every day. And we've regressed to an extent. We haven't gotten sharper or better than we did when we had sort of a part-time coach looking after special teams. And I'm sure I'm marginalizing the work that coaches did then, but I think you get the drift. It's interesting that we now have a dedicated coach, and we haven't really seen the results bear that out.
The very first play of the season this year, these guys, we almost gave up a kick return for a touchdown. How many turnovers have we had now on special teams? We just saw a fumble on the kickoff of Johnny Richardson the other day. So it has been a disappointment. It's something we got under O'Leary. We always had good special teams. That's the hidden yardage he used to always talk about. We always had good return games, and Quincy McDuffie and Rennell Hall and all those. We always had. That was a big difference in a lot of games.
Smoking Joe.
Yeah, Smoking Joe. I mean, we always won the special teams battle, and now we're losing it. And talk about all three phases of the game. That's a phase that we're giving up basically every week.
All right, let's go a little bit more specific here. Try to go on the positive side. Blank has been a real bright spot on defense.
Well, I mean, Celiscar, obviously, in the first game, we only played 3 games, and he had one of the best games of anybody on the defense. Yep. That's the first one that pops in my head, Joshua Celiscar. Yeah, I'm drawing a blank here. You want to say linebackers? Linebackers, they haven't been great, but they've been okay.
Yeah, I thought so. I jotted down Celiscar. I jotted down Eric Gilliard. And I know we expected him to be this guy, Mike, but Richie Grant, two INTs on the year already. We saw him lay a big hit on Jeff Sims in the Georgia Tech game. I know we expected him, and he was a name we were all looking at. But I think we all also said last season, we weren't sure if he had, really maximized what we thought we were going to get out of him. So we were looking for a big year out of him. So I think he's been a real bright spot on defenses. It seems like I don't call it the Richie of old because I don't know that he went anywhere, right? But it seems like the Richie Grant that we saw 2 years ago has certainly been back during the first 3 games so far. So I think Richie Grant's an option in terms of sort of a bright spot.
Right. Yeah, well, I was thinking bright spot. I was thinking something we didn't expect. But you're right. Richie Grant has been the most solid player over the first few games. And he did get banged up in that last game, but he's ready to go coming back this week. So hopefully we still have a big year coming from him.
All right, here's the flip of that question. On defense, we need to get more out of blank.
The defensive line getting some pressure on quarterbacks, some sacks. We got a sack early in the Tulsa game. It was Celiscar again, broke through, but not enough, man. We're not getting enough pressure on the quarterbacks. We're not hitting the quarterback enough. I don't know. It's just the way teams are scheming against us, or we're just not able to. Tulsa was getting pressure on us, and they only brought a few linemen, and we seem to be giving up pressure a lot, and Dylan has to move around a little bit, but we're not doing it on defense. Where's Tremont Morris-Brash?
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about him. He hasn't made a big impact yet this year. Tunier, he's been all right, but I don't remember him really having a breakout game yet. So to me, the defensive line has been a little disappointing.
Yeah, I actually put TMB, Tremont Morris-Brash, is what I thought you might say, because I know you were high on him coming into the season, as we all were. We saw he had a fantastic game in the Gasparilla Bowl, and I think we all were thinking this kid was poised to really take that step this season. Obviously, we lost some guys on the front. We lost Brendan Hayes, so we knew we had the opportunity to have another rusher on the outside to join Randy Charlton, and I think we were all hoping it'd be TMB, and so far he just he hasn't really been there as much. And again, I feel like we harp on this every week, and I feel bad for bagging on a 19-year-old kid, but his own coaching staff said basically, this kid can be as great as he wants to be. We just need to know if he wants to be great. And I paraphrase that, of course, but man, I just keep hoping that light will flip on for him, and he'll turn into the monster I think we know he can be.
Right, and like we just said, it's only been 3 games. We still got a long way to go in this season. He can turn it on. Remember last year, he didn't get even much playing time early in the year. He came on late in the season. But this is his second year now. He's should have made a big impression or a big jump going from year 1 to year 2. And now we're just not seeing him get on the field as much. And I guess that has to do with what's going on in practice every week. Hopefully starting this week, he can start turning things around. It takes one big play. It takes a big sack in a big spot in a big game like this one coming up, a big third down stop or a big turnover right when we need it the most. And then the whole narrative changes, and then he takes off from there. So hopefully we see that coming up.
All right, next one for you. I'd like to see us get blank more involved in our offense.
Otis, and it seems like we've been saying this for 4 years now. Otis Anderson. I know we tried, and last week or last game we were kind of forced to use him with injuries to Greg McCray. Just using him differently, though. I don't want to just keep seeing him with the runs up the middle. Yeah, every once in a while we got to sprinkle that in, but get him in some more creative spots, maybe some wheel routes or something out of the slot, some way to get him the ball more on a sweep or something. I don't know. We got to find some way to get this guy involved, and we know how explosive he can be. And we saw him even as the number one running back in the Temple game last year have a huge game, over 200 yards. So he's capable. I just hope Heupel finds a way to do it.
Yeah, I put two things down here. I actually put down one player because this guy's been impressive. He hasn't played a ton, but I feel like he's been out there. He's made plays. I put Ryan O'Keefe down as one option. The other thing I put down is I'd like to see us get more two running back sets involved in our offense. I think you and I have been screaming about this for years. Yeah, imagine a matchup where you have both, McCray and Otis coming out of the backfield together, right? And the versatility you could have, swing pass, screen pass, run. I feel like you have a lot of options, when we have some double back sets, particularly with guys like we have in our speed, and have the ability to kind of work more over the middle and keep the defense honest and get us, more one-on-one matchups on the outside for a receiver. So, I'm no football offensive savant, but again, you and I screamed about this for years with AK and Otis, and why can't we ever have these guys in the game at the same time? Imagine defense is trying to figure out how to match up with those two guys. I think the same could be true of Otis and McCray, and even McCray and Bentavious, or Otis and Bentavious. I think the same thing could be true. So I put two running back sets more involved in our offense.
Yeah, we saw the one time we broke it out in the Fiesta Bowl against LSU for the 2-point conversion, and it worked beautifully. And why don't we use it more often? I don't know. It doesn't fit into Heupel's playbook, but as we all know, that has to expand. That has to change.
All right, this is kind of an easy one, or maybe it's not. I don't know. Dylan Gabriel is blank.
He's so many things. He's very good.
He's very good.
He is not Mackenzie Milton yet.
Okay.
You want to do it that way? Yeah, we know the potential the kid has. And the first 2 weeks, he looked fantastic. And he can throw a deep ball as pretty as anybody. But the one thing he hasn't done that Milton did so many times is just turn those bad plays into something positive. And how about in the Peach Bowl, when even Milton wasn't hitting on all cylinders throwing the ball? He was off target. But anytime Auburn got pressure on him, he was able to escape and get a first down and run for 15, 20 yards. That changes drives. That changes everything. It changes the whole game. We haven't been able to really see him do that yet. But he's capable of it. We know he can do it. I don't know why he holds back sometimes, or is being told to hold back. But I'd love to see him let loose with his feet a little bit more.
So I kind of took liberties with the question. So Dylan Gabriel is a guy who needs to be unleashed. That's what I wrote down, because I think, to your point, I guess you and I said the same thing here. You feel like there's so much more the kid can do. I actually got lost in a Dylan Gabriel rabbit hole. There was a really cool piece about him in the Orlando Sentinel on Sunday. And actually, he did a really cool thing of calling out Matt Mearshell, who wrote that piece, and said, "Hey, thanks for writing that. That was awesome." But I found myself kind of going down a rabbit hole of old Dylan Gabriel highlights on YouTube and whatnot. And you see this kid running around making plays. Now, granted, he was he looks like he was 116 pounds, right? But you saw, his high school football, so I get it's wide open and, athletes and blah, blah, blah. But you saw him running around making plays. And to your point, yeah, that's the part you'd love to see him have the ability to kind of get some of that creativity there. And that's really what Mackenzie was known for, is making something good out of something bad, or making something okay out of something bad. Mackenzie had the knack, and what separated him, I think, from others is he had the knack of taking, a 2-yard loss and making it into a 60-yard touchdown, right? Dylan doesn't need to do that. It'd be great if he did, but just take a 2-yard loss and make it a 4-yard gain, or take a broken play and get us 5 yards out of the deal, right? If the outside hitch isn't there, what are we going to do to sort of come back and get something positive? I think that's the part where he doesn't, it'd be great if he wants to be Mackenzie, but he doesn't need to be that. But I'd love to see him get a little bit unchained. I just don't want to see him. This is going to sound really negative, and I don't mean it to be negative, but I don't want to see him get pigeonholed as a system quarterback. right? As an air raid, all the guy can do is just throw the deep ball, and trust me, he throws a hell of a deep ball. And all the guy can do is throw a deep ball and throw it long, and it's all in screen passes and deep balls. That's all he can do, because I think he's more than that. So I'd like to see if there's a way we can sort of get him unleashed to show us what that is.
Right. In 2017, how many sacks did we give up? And a lot of that is the offensive line was very good. I don't know. The answer was under 10. I think it's like 7, maybe 6 sacks the whole entire year. But the big reason for that is because of Mackenzie Milton. Able to just escape pressure and turn those sacks into, even like you said, if it's not a touchdown, just 4 or 5 yards and keep the chains moving. Turn it into a first down. And that's something we haven't seen him do yet, which we know he can do. And you're right, Jim. You don't want to see him labeled as something that he doesn't have to be, because he can make every throw. He can not only make the deep balls, he's very accurate on short passes. And I'd love to see him throw a little bit more over the middle. If we can use that part of the field, that would just open up everything, because we know he can throw it down the sidelines. We know he can do screen passes. I want to see him do slants. I want to see him hit the tight end on 3rd and 10 over the middle for 12 yards. Those are the things we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm watching, as you and I are recording, I'm watching the Chargers and the Saints play Monday Night Football. And Justin Herbert, the Chargers quarterback, just, he faked to one side, right? And he turned back around. He threw a little screen bubble pass to the other side, right? He's moving defenses. I mean, I feel like, not that this is complex stuff, but I feel like those are just the creative little things that we could see, we could see him do. And we just, feel like we haven't seen it. 13 sacks given up in 2017, if I have this correct. 13 sacks given up.
All right.
So not quite
How about
6.
these? How about the run pass options that we saw Blake Bortles break out so well in 2013? Where actually he could run it. We're talking, and then he has a chance when he's off on the side to make a pass out of it too. We don't see that much. We see him do the fake, like on every play he fakes the handoff. But I think that's predetermined whether he's going to throw it or not before that, and that's just a decoy kind of thing. I like to have him see a true run pass option where he's reading the defense, he's reading the run, and then even once he keeps it, he still has that option to throw it later.
Yeah, I think he gets to the line and kind of reads the defense to figure out where he wants to go with it too. But even it was one play. Actually, it was 2 plays, but it was one play that I remember. The one that counted, the Hescock touchdown pass against ECU. That was a beautiful play. We hadn't run that play in I don't know how long. Hescock just kind of did a little stutter step like he was going to block. Gabriel just floated out there, and all of a sudden there was Hescock wide open for a touchdown. Right, easy pitch and catch. We didn't have to go long. We didn't have to do a bubble screen to the outside. Right, like sure we could have run the ball and done something fancy from a running perspective, but we didn't have to do all those things. It was just a nice little easy pitch and catch. Same thing with the touchdown that was called back. It was almost the exact same play, opposite side of the field at that point. More the wide side of the field on that one. But, just easy, simple plays that worked brilliantly because of the way that we set our offense up. And that's the thing I feel like Heupel, and this is where I want to see Gabriel have the opportunity, is set up one play to set up the next, right? Like, he knows people think we're going deep. Like, imagine all of a sudden you pop somebody over the middle and you do that 2 or 3 times, or at least you try it 2 or 3 times. Then you got to keep people honest again. And all of a sudden, does it open more things up? Again, I'm not an offensive coach, but I just think there's some handcuffs that, I'd love to see us take off Dillon Gabriel. That's all.
All right. I think we got to start off this Memphis game with a couple plays that nobody's seen yet, right? Just to get them thinking. And then if you want to go back to the bread and butter, go ahead. But you got to keep that mixed in there, at least early, to get them off their toes.
All right. I got 2 more for you. And this, of course, is a big if UCF can win at Memphis on Saturday, they will be ranked blank in the next poll.
Ooh. Yeah, I think we'd be back in, depending obviously on what happens everywhere else. But I'll put us at 22.
Okay. Yeah, I actually had 23 written down, so that's kind of where I put us at too. Now, you don't know who's going to lose in front of us. This is, I think, this is the last weekend before the Big Ten starts. So the Big Ten, I believe they kick off on the 24th, so this will be the last poll without an actual Big Ten team playing. I'm sure all Northwestern needs to do is beat Iowa like 10-9. They'll be ranked like 17th somehow. So you never know what's going to happen there. But I felt like 22, 23, 24 is probably the right range. Again, Memphis is a solid team, a road win against a team that obviously had some success last year. I think that's a pretty fair number.
And the Big Ten teams that are in, they're already in. So you would think they're not going to. If there's a Big Ten team that's not in this week, and then they're going to add another one without them playing another game, I don't think that's happening. So I'd have to look at the bottom of the rankings, who the bottom 20 to 25 teams are, and who they're playing this week. But yeah, we should be able to jump in with a good quality win. And it also depends on how we win. If we go in there and beat Memphis up, I think that says a lot too.
Last one. This is the hardest one. I can't wait for your answer here. If Josh Heupel's tenure at UCF ends tomorrow, he will be most remembered as blank.
Check it, man.
You might not be wrong, actually. Easy way out. I like it, but you might not be wrong.
Well, it depends on what happens afterwards. Because if the next guy comes in and the train keeps rolling and we continue with successful football, then he's a good transition coach from Heupel to whoever the next guy is. If the next guy comes in and things start falling down, then he can be looked at as the turning point of, man, we really screwed up on capitalizing where we were when Frost left and Heupel didn't keep us where we needed to be. We kind of went backwards from the first year where he went undefeated and lost to LSU, to the next year where he lost 3 games, to now losing to Tulsa again. So it can go either way, and I think a lot of it depends on who would take over after.
Well, this is such a hard question, right? And I wrote it purposely hard because if I had said on Sunday, if his tenure came to an end, how would he be remembered? And if I told you we lost 50-0, or if I told you we won 50-0, right, your answer would change. And if I said wait till the end of the season, how would he be remembered? And then I told you we were 8-1 and went to the New Year's Six game, or we were 5-4 and didn't play in a bowl game. So I think all of it's going to be relevant to what the results are. So I tried to kind of take that out of that. I think if his tenure ends tomorrow, I think he'll be remembered as a really good young head coach who had an exciting brand of offense that was able to put up some really good numbers and set some records. But I don't know, will people look at him as a winner? Will they look at him as an innovative coach? Will they look at him as a great recruiter? I mean, I don't know. I'm curious to hear what other people will think and say when this comes out and when they hear this question on how they'll remember Heupel. But obviously it's fresh on people's minds right now because of, I guess, how they feel. But I'd be curious to think, if you look back and zoom out big picture, how you really think that he has comported himself here as the coach.
Well, he's won most of the games that we should have won, and he's lost some games that we should have won. He hasn't won any games that we should not have won, which I guess not really his fault because we had pretty much been favored in every game that he's been here as coach. But we didn't beat LSU. What other game really the last few years were we supposed to lose and he went in there and won that game? He out-coached somebody. It hasn't happened yet. And I don't know. His first chance this might be this year later in the Cincinnati game if we're not favored. But even though we were going to be at home, we probably will be favored depending on what. But if Cincinnati is 7-0 going into that game and we have 2-3 losses, we may not be. So he hasn't.
Would you say
done anything right now.
Is it fair to say he would be remembered as a coach who had unreasonable expectations placed upon him?
Well, yeah, that is true. We've expected him to win every single game he's been here, and that's just not realistic. And it didn't. I guess he didn't help his cause by winning every single game that first year.
Yeah.
So it kind of put him behind the 8 ball for the next 2 years. And any loss, like the losses we've had, we've killed him for it. But the Tulsa games, we were huge favorites in those games. Last year we were a 17, 16-point favorite on the road. Yeah. This year we're at home and we lose to the same guys. The Pittsburgh game, the reason nobody thought we would lose that game is because the year before we beat the crap out of Pittsburgh. Right? We destroyed them at home, and we went into that game coming off the Stanford game. I didn't think there was any way we'd lose to those guys. The Cincinnati game last year, same thing. We had beat the crap out of them the year before, and I didn't think we would lose to them, and there we did. So all our losses were in games where we all, as a fan base, went into thinking not only that we should win, but that we would easily win. Right? I didn't think even this year, the Tulsa game, even after having seen it last year, having seen us lose them last year, how many UCF fans thought we were going to lose to Tulsa again this year? I don't think any. Maybe there's one or two pessimistic guy that always thinks we're going to lose every game. You couldn't find 5 guys that would have thought we were going to lose to them again.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's. I think you said it perfectly earlier, right? When you said he has not coached in a game yet that we didn't expect him to win, right? And you think about, O'Leary, and you think about Frost, right? They coached in some games that we weren't sure if they could win. We wanted them to win. We felt like we could win, but we also wouldn't have been like, oh, man, wow, we can't believe we lost that game, right? If we had lost to Auburn, it would have sucked, and but no one would have been like, how do you lose that game, right? So I think that's the interesting thing part about the Heupel experience thus far is he hasn't had the benefit of that because, unfortunately, the groundwork's been laid, and he's he's been a big part of that too. So I'm definitely curious to get your thoughts out there as a listener on how you remember Heupel. You've had some chance to kind of calm down, hopefully after the Tulsa loss. Maybe answer this question before the Memphis game and maybe after, see how it changes your mind, but. Find us on Twitter and let us know what you think, and maybe we'll throw some of those comments in. Maybe the pregame show will bring this back. Who knows when this will come back up? But Mike, let's take a quick little commercial break right about now, and then we'll come back. And even though there's no games, Mike and I have UCF observations for you, although maybe not so UCF. Quick commercial break. Back after this. All right. Even though there was no actual UCF game, that doesn't mean that Mike and I stop our research. We are always, pen and paper in hand, just jotting down all these notes. We have no one to share them with because no one else will listen to us. I've tried talking to my wife for years, nothing. So we're gonna lay these all on you, Mike. So are you ready for another week of UCF observations? I'll let you lead off.
I am ready.
All right, here you go. You're up.
All right. Bye weeks where all the other Florida teams lose are actually a lot of fun.
Yeah, everybody went down this week, and yet Miami and Florida stayed ranked. So what are you going to do? Hey, I'm a Cowboys fan. The Cowboys, Mike, are in first place in the NFC East. Can you believe it? 2-3, first place in the NFC East. The only problem is they've also given up the most points in the league, 180. So giving up the most points, 2-3 first place team. Go Cowboys.
The freaking Giants were very close to being in first place. Could have won that game. The Gators' defense cannot stop a nosebleed. These guys are terrible.
Speaking of the Cowboys, they've only given up 20 more points than the Jets, who are 0-5.
Florida gave up 41 points to Texas A&M. That's a team that's only scored 17 against Vanderbilt. So don't tell me how good Texas A&M is. Florida's defense is just that bad.
Anchor down. A week after Texas has weighed in, Mike, turns out the U isn't back either.
I kind of had that one. But
well, it's true.
Florida State won the first quarter against Notre Dame by 3 points. And then they got outscored 28-9.
Hey, Mike, speaking of the U, they were ranked, as you know. They got the ranking by beating a Louisville team that just got slaughtered by a Georgia Tech team that got handled by a UCF team. I'll hang up and listen.
Don't forget their big win against FAMU.
My apologies.
The Cows got blown out at home against East Carolina. How bad is the Citadel? The Cows actually beat them.
You saw their punter. Next up for me, damn you, Tulsa. That's it. Just damn you, Tulsa. That's all I got.
All right. Ole Miss put up 48 points on Alabama with Jeff Levy and the UCF fast offense. Imagine what KZ would have done to those guys in 2017. I think Alabama has a fake natty now. Another one.
I mean, we don't rehearse these, but here's I was watching the Ole Miss game this weekend, Mike, and man, was it fun to see an offense like that flying all over the place, making plays, going fast. I wish we had a coordinator. Oh, wait, never mind.
63-48, 44-21, 41-38, 45-41. The SEC is the new Big 12.
Wait a minute. the ALS started already, Mike? Or the ACLS, ALCS, whatever, that started already? That we're still doing baseball?
Yeah, I should have been watching the Yankees today. Yeah, it started. The U is back to reality.
Are any UCF fans going dressed as a penalty flag for Halloween, or is it just me? I'm the only one dressing and it's just all yellow. Oh, no, just me? Okay.
Yeah, that's a good costume right there. All right, if it wasn't for the 3 blocked field goals, the score for the Miami game, they would have lost 51-10. There's 17 points. One of them was on a blocked field goal that they returned for a touchdown.
If I tried to do anything in my life with even half the drive of Jimmy Butler, I'd be much further along. But the problem is, I get tired and stuff.
LSU has lost 2 games already. Why isn't anybody taking their national championship away? Does that only apply to us?
I got a serious question. When people ask him about injuries, why doesn't Heupel just say, I'm not telling you? Why does he just say, I'm not going to tell you? Why does he have to be like, I'll get you later in the week? These guys should be. Just say, I don't want to tell you. Why do we have to play these games? Just say, I don't want to tell you. I don't understand.
Next question. That's what you just said.
Yeah, just I don't want to tell you.
The Tulsa loss hurts even more now. We would be in the top 5, top 6 coming into this week.
Apparently, Wichita State head basketball coach Greg Marshall might be a crazy person. I mean, who saw this one coming? I don't know. Seems such a nice guy to me. I don't know. Surprising.
Yeah, they're so calm on the side.
Yeah, I don't even know where. This came out of nowhere.
Florida is still ranked ahead of Texas A&M.
That's stupid.
What the hell?
That's so dumb.
Speaking of hell.
Don Williams. In an update to a previous story, reigning Cow of the Week winner Jonas Pope has dropped UCF, who did not play this week, from number 13 to not being ranked at all. Jonas, the McMurphy is strong in you, my friend.
How can he do that?
I don't even know. And last one for me, by the way. The GFS Hurricane model can go right to hell. Just go right to hell. Seriously, don't look at that thing on or around October 25th if you don't want to see bad news. That thing can go right to hell. Mike, those are the UCF observations. You're not
those weather guys don't know what the hell they're doing, because another day wasted yesterday. I was supposed to go to the beach, and the weather said it was going to rain all day. It didn't rain at all until like 6:30 at night.
Yeah, this isn't the weather. This is like the forecast model. This is like science. I'm like, you can't argue with. Well, I guess you can argue with. A lot of people argue with science these days, actually. So maybe you should argue with science. Let's do some questions here, Mike. We got a bunch of questions in this week on Twitter, so let's just throw those in this segment here, and get to a few of these here. So we put this out on Twitter. Give us your questions. What's on your mind? Black and Gold Ed asked, "What's your confidence level going into the Memphis game, Mike?" So if I had to give you a 1 to 5, 5 being most confident will win, 1 being least confident, give me your number.
Ooh, I'm right in the middle, man. Normally I'm fully confident. I think we're going to win every game. I don't know. I don't know which UCF team is going to show up this week. Is it going to be the UCF fast team that we've grown to love over the last couple of years, where we just go out and put up 50 points on everybody? Or is it the sloppy UCF team that's coming out with penalties and putting themselves behind the 8 ball? And I don't know what to expect. I really have no clue what to expect coming into this game. My confidence level is right down the middle, and that's because it's Monday. On Saturday afternoon, 2:30, when we're doing our pregame show, I don't know if I'm going to be more confident or less confident. I guess it's going to depend on how many drinks I've already had at that time.
Here's the problem. If I told you both of these things and asked you if you thought they'd be true, what would you tell me? So if I told you UCF started the game off with 3 straight false start penalties and then 3 and out and had a punt blocked that was returned for a touchdown, would you believe me? Would you think that's possible?
Oh, yeah.
If I told you,
definitely see that.
If I told you UCF started off with an 80-yard bomb touchdown throw to Jalen Robinson, would you think that's possible?
Of course.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Is either one of those 2 things, in my opinion, are equally as plausible. If you called me up and was like, Adam, I know you're not watching the game, but you're not going to believe this. We just went 3 and out and then punted and they blocked it and returned it for a touchdown. Oh, and by the way, 3 guys ran into each other. They're all hurt. I'd believe you. I'd say, you know what? That sounds about right. Or if you called me like, oh, we're back, Jalen Robinson just bombed, blah, 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 I'd believe that too. I think that's the part where it's a 3.5 because you don't know where we are right now because either one of those two things can be true. And I think that's the life of a UCF fan right now in this season is you just don't know what you're going to get. So that's where our confidence level is at, Ed. I'm not sure if that helps you at all, but maybe it at least made you laugh for a second, Mike. Our good buddy JP Gilbert asked, over under for false starts this week. He put the number at 7. You actually asked him if that was for the game or the first quarter. He didn't respond to that one. So, Mike, I guess I'll give you game specific. Over under false starts at 7.
Well, at this point, I have to say over. I mean, they've shown no reason why I would pick the under in that. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we don't have any false starts, but you got to expect there's going to be at least a few. And the problem is when you get that first one, let that just be it. Okay, you have one, and then forget it. If we get a drive where we have more than one in the same drive, and they start, it's a snowball effect, and that's what happens. They're contagious. One guy gets it, and then instead of everybody else picking them up and saying, "All right, we're not going to let that happen," somebody else gets it, and then another one, and then it just never ends. And that's been the problem for the last few weeks. So I'd love to say under, but if you made me put money on it, I'm betting the over.
I'm going to go under on a technicality. Here's my technicality. We had a few snap infractions, which aren't technically false starts. So, so I'm going to go under on that. Plus, we had a couple of receivers who just weren't set, so it was kind of like not being set or not all 12 guys or all 11 guys not fully set. So I'm going to go with the nuance here. I'm going to take a technicality. I'm going to either go. I'm going to push. I'm going to go 7 right on the dot. JP, I can't. I'm all over the place. JP, I'm going to go 7. I'm gonna push on that. Our good friend UCF MSU Clemson, by the way, still working on those past shows for you. She wants to know. KZ said he was close to being ready. Is there a chance he plays against Memphis?
Oh, no. We see now that he's actually playing in practice, which is a great sign. But we discussed it before. I think if we're going to see him come back, it's going to be a home game. Hey, maybe next week against Tulane. No. And also, if he's going to come in, it's going to be in a game where it's garbage time. We're up big at the end, and let's get him out there for a few snaps. I don't think that's going to be the case at all this game. This is going to be a nail-biter start to finish. So I do not expect to see him play this week.
Here, you know what, I was thinking about this question, and actually something that happened this weekend popped in my mind, Mike. I don't know if you've been following this closely, but Alex Smith, quarterback for the Washington football team, he suffered a horrific leg injury, had like 17, 18, 19 surgeries, rods, cones, all this other stuff, right? Just a horrific injury, horrific recovery. And he actually got back out in the field for the first time since that injury, 2+ years. And he replaced Kyle Allen, who got dinged up. And it's a great story, and his wife and his family were there, and if you watched it, you probably got goosebumps. But then you quickly realized Alex Smith hadn't touched a football in that sort of live game action in over 2 years. And within like the first 3 plays, I think he'd been sacked twice. I think he finished the game with like 36 yards passing. And I'm not saying that McKenzie's not talented. I'm not saying he can't play well. But you forget just the muscle memory of these guys not being out there for so long. Plus, God knows whatever you're dealing with from a PTSD standpoint. Anytime. So, like, if I'm Alex Smith and Aaron Donald's running at me full speed, I couldn't climb a hole in the ground fast enough. Like, and just everything you've been through. And so, I guess you really want to make sure McKenzie's ready. And I want to make sure he can get into a situation where he can play and be himself and be successful. And it really depends on where we are. If we're blowing Memphis out and we want to take a couple of snaps at the end, I'm okay with that. But I mean, listen, we forget, we've already asked this kid to basically work miracles on his own body every single solitary day. I think we just need to be patient that he'll get on the field when he's ready, but I think we want to make sure he can be ready. So I guess that's the Alex Smith thing really kind of crystallized that for me this weekend.
Yeah, I saw him come into the game. I was watching the Red Zone channel, and then like a second play, Aaron Donald jumps on his back. Yes. Oh my God, poor guy. You just hope his leg doesn't snap again. I would love to see McKenzie come back. And I am going to cringe every single time somebody comes close to hitting him and just hope he can get up. And it's going to be weird, but it's going to be fun when he actually does come back. Hopefully, like you said, we can ease him back into a game where maybe the first time we see him, he just hands it off a couple times or whatever. But He looks like he's coming back, man. He's practicing, he's moving around. So I've been saying it since before the season started. We're going to see him in the game at some point this year.
UCF, MSU, Clemson also says, should Dak have gotten a contract before the season? Obviously, clearly now he should have, but hopefully he'll be okay. That was a gruesome. I know you were probably watching that game too, Mike. Did you see that injury? That was just gruesome.
Oh yeah, that was ugly, man. You hate to see that happen to anybody, even if it's on a team that you hate. Because I've seen it happen to my guys. Obviously, you've seen it happen with McKenzie. It was gross. It was gross. And feel bad for him, and you really feel bad for him. The guy could have been. How much money could he have made? Over $100 million if he had signed that. And now who knows what's going to happen to him?
Yeah.
You don't think the Cowboys are going to trust giving him that much money? He was already on. He was a what's it called?
Franchise.
Yeah, he's a franchise player already this year. So
yeah.
Who knows how much money he's going to make now going forward.
Yeah, plus if anybody knows this story, he lost his mom when he was in college to cancer. His younger brother committed suicide in the offseason. He talked openly about depression this offseason with COVID and not having people to talk to. And then, he's betting on himself and, he's playing pretty good. And then all of a sudden you see that. You hate that for the kid. Obviously the contract is one thing, but hopefully he can come back and at least resume his football career either in Big Dallas or elsewhere too. Next up, my Golden Knight _2 wants to know. This is a great question, by the way. If this game against Memphis, I assume he means, comes down to the last possession, what side do you want on the field? What do you have more confidence in to win the game, the offense or the defense?
I did see this question. I've been thinking about this one since I've seen it. It's a great question. Everybody always wants to have the ball at the end and have the chance to score to win the game. But even our best teams, the games come down to defense at the end, making huge stops. 2013, I talked about the Memphis game where Plummer makes the interception in the end zone. The big fourth down stop against Houston in the bounce house. Even in the Peach Bowl in 2017, the defense was on the field again here. Antoine Collier making the interception. How many games have we won in the last second with an offensive touchdown? What was the last time we did that? So, and plus the defense is healthier right now. If you ask me which unit I trust more at this moment, I trust our defense to come up with a stop than the offense to go run a clean drive to go down and win the game. Look what happened this past week against Tulsa. We had the ball and we couldn't go down there and put up the touchdown when we needed it. So if you're making me pick, I'm gonna say defense. I'll put the defense out there and I trust those guys to make a stop.
Yeah, this wasn't even really close for me. It was defense for me all day. And now again, I'm always this guy who wants to get the clarifiers in, but like, how many timeouts do we have? How much are we down? Do we need a touchdown? Do we need a field goal? I mean, all that stuff matters on offense, right? But yeah, I mean, I gotta say, Mike, the defense has been more consistent. Plus, we've been in this spot against Memphis before, right? We remember the game at Memphis, the 31-30 game. Rashad Kazi came up with a huge shoestring tackle to get the guy in bounds and essentially kind of thwarted Memphis there as they were trying to go in for I guess the game-winning field goal or game-winning score. We've played Memphis before. I think we know Brady White as a quarterback. I don't know that he scares me as a quarterback. He's really good. He's solid. But I don't know that he's, this magical type Russell Wilson type of quarterback, although I guess that's who else it really is. So it's probably not a fair comparison. But, I would go defense. Put the defense on the field. And, again, I'd love to know that they're healthy. Does that mean I get Richie Grant out there? Does that mean I get Antoine Collier out there? If I'm getting like the second and third stringers, then maybe I flipped out to offense. But if you're telling me a full complement of our defense, everybody healthy, I'd go defense.
Yeah, even go back to 2017 championship game against Memphis. Trey Neal with the interception to seal the game. If you're talking about a last-minute drive to win a game, are we talking about the Hail Mary against East Carolina? Or what? Even the game against the Cows, that was a special teams kick return to win the game. When's the last game-winning touchdown drive we've had in the final minute? Maybe I'm just drawing a blank and I'm missing an obvious one here.
Well, it's the Memphis championship game is tough because that was overtime. We kept going back and forth, so we had to score to put the pressure on them, right? So in theory, that was a game-winning drive. We just ended it with an interception. So that one's kind of on the line, but I see your point. It's not the traditional, captain comeback, John Elway style game-winning drive that we put together. So that's a fair point.
Well, we talked to Matt Wright. He never hit a game-winning field goal. So it's not like we had a drive where we had to go down and kick a field goal in the last second. And another part of that is a lot of our wins, especially under Heupel, have all been blowout wins, so they haven't been close. Even under Frost in the 17 year, that the close games were there at the end, and we just described them. The championship game against Memphis, the special teams against the Cows, and then the interception to steal the peach. You have to go back to O'Leary days, I guess, for one of those last-minute offensive. The Louisville game with Blake Bortles and Jeff Godfrey is another one.
Yeah.
But so I guess maybe because we've seen the defense do it more, I trust the defense. I don't know.
This is Brian W. Peterson. He's got a two-parter here, so I'll kind of read them. They're both sort of the same question. I'll read them both. Brian's not on the fire hype bandwagon, but we've obviously lost a handful of games. But our recruiting class, he says, has been steadily declining. They're currently 7th in the AAC rankings and mid-70s in the FBS. And he says, yes, we have been using transfer portal to some success, but should we be seeing bigger jumps in returns from our recent success over the last few years? It seems from our rankings that we are going backwards and not forwards. When do we get concerned?
When we start losing on a consistent basis. The rankings and the recruiting, I never got into that. I go more with the results on the field. If we're consistently losing 2-3 games in the American Conference, then yes, I'd be very concerned, because we should not be. We should be in the top of this conference. We should be winning the conference, I'd say, every other year. We should be in the conference championship game every 3 out of 4 years, something like that. We should not be finishing 3rd or 4th in the conference ever.
It'd be curious to know Heupel's recruiting strategy. There's a lot of chatter on the message boards. People are concerned that the majority of the recruits we have now are not coming out of the state of Florida, that we seem to be kind of getting recruits outside of Florida, which would seem counterintuitive because Florida's, if not the number one recruiting hotbed, one of the top 2 or 3 recruiting hotbeds. So to be going out of state to get a bunch of players seems a little bit counterintuitive. But you wonder what kind of, what Heupel is dealing with here, right? Is he in a position that he's trying to find some of these diamond in the rough guys who he thinks can come in and fit in their system? And there's a litany of guys. Blake Bortles wasn't a huge recruit. Mackenzie Milton wasn't a huge recruit. Shaquem Griffin came, frankly, just because I think he wanted to come with his brother, who was a bigger recruit at that point. So we've got a history of finding some of these diamond in the rough guys. AK was a speedster, wasn't a huge recruit. I think our last 4 or 5 star was Cordarian Richardson, if I have it right. Although Tremont Morris Brash may have been a 3-star, 4-star until he committed to us and he became a 3-star. So who knows? But yeah, listen, the rankings are the rankings. And I think it was Black and Gold Band Red. I should give Jeff, Elo, and Brian some credit on this one. I think they did a redo of all the recruiting rankings and where UCF was and where they would have been. It's probably still somewhere on their site. It's actually a really good piece. So the only concern you'd have is just hopefully Heupel isn't burning bridges and he's continuing to keep the pipeline open between the local schools there in Orlando. It's the old Jimmy Johnson, Howard Schnellenberger philosophy of, build a fence around your area and don't let kids out of it. Hopefully we're getting that mentality up. And yeah, the transfer portal is certainly becoming something that we're using more and more, Mike, but I guess you can be lightly concerned, but again, the results haven't necessarily, shown that true yet. So I don't know that I'm uber concerned, but I could see where you'd start looking at this and going, okay, wait a minute, what's going on here?
And the top players in Orlando in this area are choosing the Cows over us, or they're always gonna, the very best players are still gonna go to Alabama and still gonna go to Clemson and those schools, the 5-star guys. But we're losing to recruiting battles like West Virginia and schools like that. Then that's when I'm concerned.
Well, I think, they can have that one kid. I think the thing, though, that you and I have talked about this before is, we think about the transfers coming back to UCF, right? Devad Wilson, Jaden Francois, Deontay Marks, all of them obviously Florida kids. And I think you and I have talked about this before. It'd be great if UCF becomes the team that's in the position to get that guy right out of high school. Right, and not have to go to the transfer portal and have that kid say, hey, I'm not going to try to go to Ole Miss or Florida or Nebraska or Georgia and get that kid right out. I think that's kind of where maybe people are at, is why aren't we getting that kid right out of high school versus having to wait for the portal? That's a fair argument. There's so many things that go into it, though. Kids want to leave home. Kids want to try something new. It's just these are 17, 16, 18-year-old kids who, you look at Mike Wright, who was all Mr. Pro UCF, and then all of a sudden he wasn't Pro UCF, and then he was Pro Vanderbilt, right? I mean, these are just kids. This is what they do, and so it's hard to say when you should or shouldn't be concerned, but I definitely can understand that sentiment, and certainly some of this stuff with recruiting obviously has to kind of bear itself out.
We need better bagmen.
Let's get some bagmen out there. Maybe Brando Nitro wants to be a bagman. Brando said, the fire Heupel crazies, if they had their way, who would you get to replace Heupel? He says he likes Lebby, but he thinks we should go with somebody with more experience, maybe former coaches. He mentions Mario Verduzco, who is the QB coach at Nebraska now, was obviously our QB coach. I think he's like 70 years old. Maybe he's not the best candidate, but so Mike, let's indulge Brando Nitro. If the fire Heupel people get their wish, where are we going coach-wise?
Well, we've kind of talked about this on the show before. To me, the answer is already in the building, and that's Randy Shannon. If you want somebody with experience and you want somebody that can recruit Florida and you want to keep continuity in the program, he checks off all those boxes. And that's if he wants to be a head coach again. If not, you've seen Danny White the way he does it. The last two hires came out of nowhere. Something exciting, offensive. Remember, Danny White needs to sell tickets too. And he needs somebody with an exciting offense, something that people want to come out and watch. So that's probably where he would go again. Now, if he wanted to hire Shannon to be the head coach and then find somebody like that to be an offensive coordinator, that's another route to do, another way to do it. But I don't think you can get a established big name coach to come in. And who's that? You're not going to get like an Urban Meyer to come to town. And I know people probably wouldn't even want Urban with some of the things he's pulled in the past. But I don't know. I think it would probably be somebody we never heard of.
Yeah, that's Danny's MO, right? We'd go young coordinator type. Some of these guys maybe. I think Graham Harrell's a name you hear a lot. He was a former Texas Tech quarterback. I think he's at USC now as the offensive coordinator. So you'd probably go find one of those guys. But that's the typical Danny White smokescreen, right? Give you a couple of big name guys that you think you're going after, a la Greg Schiano, a la Kevin Sumlin. Then throw in a couple of guys that make you scratch your head, a la Jason Candle, a la Neil Brown, and then land up with some offensive coordinator school that's putting up 50 points a game. That's probably where Danny's at. So I would just look up schools that are scoring 50 plus right now, and then go figure out who their offensive coordinators are, and those are probably your guys. But I do think it's interesting to think through: could he just elevate Randy to the head coach, and just say, Randy, bring in an offensive guy. You've got the defense on lockdown. Let's just bring in a guy to run the offense, and maybe that becomes the thing. That might be an interesting play as well.
Yeah, it seems to make sense. And another thing is when you have a certain type of coach, usually when they leave, it didn't happen this time. We actually ended up going with the same type of coach. But usually you go from one end of the spectrum to the other. So you go from O'Leary, who's a disciplinarian, to Frost, who's more of a player's coach. So if Heupel leaves or is fired because of lack of discipline on the team, then maybe we find somebody that can put the hammer down on these guys. Maybe we hire O'Leary back and get that.
That's never gonna happen. That's never gonna happen. Not a chance. That's gonna happen.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying, though.
Yeah,
you go from one end to the other, and that's the way it is. And maybe right now we're all about offense, and then eventually we'll go back to a defensive-minded coach. But like I said, Danny White needs to sell tickets, and I think that's why his two hires have been the way they have been. You need somebody to energize the fan base.
Yeah, I'd love to see us get into. I mean, I know there's some young guys out there now, and I'd love us to get into the UCF alumni coaching tree. You know what I mean? I know Sean Beckton's name comes up a lot. Sean Jefferson we had on the show. He's a wide receivers coach in the NFL right now. Obviously, you have Travis Fisher, who went to UCF. He's the DB coach for Nebraska. It'd be interesting to see if you get any of those guys one of these days.
You got Darren Hinshaw as the offensive coordinator at Kentucky in the SEC. He'd be a name you throw in there. There's a bunch of UCF former guys that are coaching now. So
probably a bit of a leap, but like Ryan Schneider at Cocoa High right now, could he be a QB coach, offensive coordinator type guy? I mean, it'd be great to get some UCF guys back on the staff. But But that's another story for another day. Obviously, Heupel's still with us and hopefully preparing us to go 1-0 this week. He also went to the podium this week where he always goes 1-0. And because of that, it gives Mike and I something to talk about each week. And that's the Josh Heupel translator. And so we're going to do that for you next. He had a couple of comments. No one knows what they mean. We're going to tell you. Stick around. 102nd edition of the Sons of UCF returns right after this.
It's translator time.
All right, last week we talked about screen skins, and we're going to do that here as well because you're going to want to put this thing on your phone. Look, we lost last week. Everybody gets it, but it's time for a new streak. So ask yourself this question. Has UCF ever lost a game when you've had a phone screen on, right? You might not know because you don't have one yet. So go get a phone screen now. Do your part to help us get back on the winning ways. You put a phone screen on there, UCF wins, guess what? You can get all the credit for it. So you get the credit for the win, and you get a pretty sweet looking phone screen. Again, I've been telling you about this thing for months now. It's a clear plastic cover, goes on the front of your phone. When your phone is lit up, it looks beautiful. You see your phone, your screen's protected. When it goes dark, UCF logo magically appears on there, Mike. I'm not sure what else you could ask for in a phone. It has UCF stuff on there. It keeps your phone safe, and you personally could be responsible for the beginning of another UCF winning streak.
You guys pissed me off, man. Because
jeez.
We've been telling you guys about screen skins now for a couple months, and you haven't bought one yet. What the heck are you doing? I told you I was going to start getting mad at you guys, and this is it. You're the reason we lost. We point a lot of fingers around here. We point to the penalties and the turnovers. That none of that is the reason why we lost to Tulsa. The reason we lost to Tulsa is because you, the listener, does not have a screen skin on their phone. Get one now. You have a couple days now before kickoff. You don't get a screen skin again, I hate to say it, probably going to lose to Memphis.
Oh, don't do that.
I mean, that's the only explanation I can come up with.
Oh.
Get a screen skin on your phone now, and the rest of the season will be fine. We will win the rest of our games. But It's only going to happen if you get one.
Yeah, this was not in the copy, but I can tell you what is in the copy. If you Google screen skins, that's SKINZ, you will get to their website. You will find all the screen skins they have. You should pick the UCF one of them, but they have other schools, sororities, fraternities. So maybe you have a friend, a family member, a cousin you don't like anymore, or Christmas is coming up. You want to try to get them a gift. And here's the thing. We're going to go easy on your wallet because if you hit the promo code Sons of UCF at checkout, you'll get 10% off. So that cousin you don't even like went to FAU or something, you can just get him a screen skin and he'll never know that you got 10% off that thing. And then you've got your beautiful UCF screen skin that you can just kind of leave on at all times and go, look at this thing. It's great, isn't it? Oh, I've won a national championship. Gee, I can't relate. But you're not going to do all that stuff if you don't go to Screenskins. Screenskins.com, or actually Google Screenskins. You'll get there and promo code Sons UCF, 10% off, and you can thank us later. Now, what the heck was Heupel really saying? Let's find out. All right, never one to be Mr. Talkative. Joshua Kenneth Heupel, I now go middle name on him, met the media today in his typical Monday press conference, and they had a lot of questions, and he provided a lot of answers. And some of those answers, Mike, were kind of like non-answers, I guess, right? That's kind of what Hype does. And so luckily we went out and we spared no expense, and we've been able to keep the exclusive Sons of UCF translator device. It allows us to read Heupel quotes, and then it'll tell you exactly what it is he's trying to say. It's a beautiful machine, Mike. Are you ready to hit up the Josh Heupel translator?
Let's do it.
All right, here is my first one for you. Coming off of a bye week, can you update where you are today and how the guys did after a couple days off? He said, quote, guys had a couple days to kind of catch their breath, still had some treatment and those types of things in the facility. Guys were great this morning. Typical game week Monday for us. We'll come back later tonight and we'll get in our normal install and ready to go. Guys are excited, Mike. A lot of good stuff there, but what did Heupel really mean?
We've had time now to forget about that disgusting display of football we put out there the last time we were on the field. And everybody's coming back pissed and ready to go for this week. Memphis is in for it, and I'm pumped up. I got a special shacket ready to go for this game. It started a new winning streak.
Wow, special Shackett. I mean, look, he's doing the coach speak thing, right? Normal week, we're getting back to basics, we're doing all that stuff. Guys got some rest in, which is hopefully true. He didn't provide any bulletin board material, didn't do anything fiery, didn't give you one of those like Newt Rockney type speeches. So kind of your typical Heupel, but you hope that there was hopefully some sense of urgency as the week kicked off. Although you didn't maybe didn't get it from that answer there. But we'll see what happens next, Mike. What questions do you want to try through the translator?
How confident are you that the pre-snap issues will not be an issue this week against Memphis? And his answer was, we've done some things to alleviate that. We've worked on it. We did that the week before, too. Things didn't work out the right way. I feel like we're putting our kids in the right positions. Feel like they're focused and ready to correct those problems. Those are things we can control. We've got to be on the right side of it this Saturday. We can't play behind the chains.
I'm not the least bit confident that we can fix these pre-snap things because I haven't had a game to play yet. I've been yelling at these guys for weeks now, and every time I yell and it doesn't seem to get better, I tried to change snap counts and make it easier. That didn't seem to get any better. We're trying to drill this stuff at practice. Yeah, that hasn't really gotten any better. So I'm not really confident at all until we get out there. I have no idea what's going to be. I'm all over Ellerby's ass, trying to get a way for him to get these guys to just stand down. Maybe we got to go a tick slower on our tempo. Maybe Gabriel needs to do something different with his snap counts. I have no idea what the problem is because I've been trying this thing for weeks and weeks and weeks. If I knew what the problem was, don't you think I'd have fixed it by now? Don't you think we wouldn't have gone from 19 to 18 penalties? I would have fixed this thing by now. I'm not the least bit confident, but I'm hoping we just go out and blow these guys' doors off, and you guys won't notice if we have another 8 or 9 or 10 of these things next week. So my goal is put up 50, and you guys won't even talk to me about it. So that's how confident I am.
He said we've worked on it, and we did that the week before too. Well, I guess it didn't work. Whatever he tried last week, he doesn't seem confident that it's going to get fixed. And you're right. He just needs to go out and score as many points as possible, so that it's not a factor. But even if we did blow these guys out and won this game 45-13, and we still committed 12, 13 penalties, damn right we're still going to bring it up and talk about it because it's so disgusting to watch. It's ugly football, and we're tired of watching it.
All right, here's a bit of a long one, but quote, question is, you've got players who aren't used to losing. They've had this bad taste a little bit because of the longer bye week. What have you seen of their attitude? Heupel answered, quote, coaches want to get the bad taste out of their mouth too. I like that our kids aren't accustomed to losing. We have high expectations. There's high expectations on the outside too, but none higher than those inside our building. That's why our players and our staff work as hard as they do. Disappointed in the outcome. At the same time, as a competitor, you've got to move on to the next one. You're only as good as your next one. Doesn't matter if you win or lose the previous game. Our kids have turned the page, learned from the mistakes they've made, and don't make the same mistakes twice. Like, what's that say?
Our players are not used to losing. Damn right they're not used to losing. We've only lost 4 or 5 games. Well, what is it, 4 games in the last 2 years? 5 games since I've been here. We're not going to get used to losing. This is a one-time deal this year. Last year we lost 3. This year, this is it. We're cleaning it up starting now. We're only as good as the next game. I'm going to show you guys how good we actually are. All right, you guys are questioning me. You're putting me in the hot seat. I've had enough of this crap.
Oh,
I'm coming out
angry
this week and taking care of business.
So do you think Heupel really thinks he's got it cleaned up?
No. No. But how could he know? How could he know that until he actually goes out and the team actually goes out and shows him that they do it? I don't think any of us believe it. Even if they did it in practice, even if they went out and had a great practice where they didn't commit one false start in practice, I tell you, as soon as it happens one time in the game, it's freaking contagious, and then that's when you start worrying about it.
So what do we do? Let's say we start the game off with Memphis and third play of the game, false start, offense, number 75, 5-yard. Like, what do you think Heupel should do? Should we start pulling kids right off the field? Like, I guess, is there anything that you would see him do where you would go, okay, you know what, now he's taking this stuff really seriously, or now he means business?
The only thing he could do is take guys off the field. And it's one thing to take somebody off the field in between series and just send out a different guy on the offensive line. If Matt Lee starts the game with a false start and then he snaps the ball over Dylan Gabriel's head on second down, get somebody else behind at center for third now, and that's it. You're done for the day. That would send a message, I guess, and that's basically the only thing he hasn't done to this point. So I don't know what he can do other than that. Obviously, whatever they're doing in practice is not making a difference. At least it hasn't the last couple of weeks.
What if I told you that we could clean up the false start penalties, but we would have to significantly, and by significantly I mean 5 to 7 seconds slower on our offensive tempo, right? So we could clean up penalties. Like we could go from having 10 false start penalties to 3, but we'd have to be much slower on offense. Would you make that trade?
Yeah, sure. 5 to 7 seconds slower is basically where we were at in the Frost era, and we were still moving pretty fast.
Yeah,
we're moving even faster now than we ever have. I think we're even like 3 seconds faster than we were last year. So, yeah, I'd take that. If it means not shooting yourself in the foot 5 yards every couple plays, definitely I'd take it. So we score in 4 minutes instead of 2, but at least we scored.
Because part of me wonders if that's not, a slice of the answer, right? We did blame pie last week, right? If part of the blame pie on why we have false starts is the tempo, I wonder if Heupel is willing to go, okay, let's take this thing down another notch. Let's if somebody asked him that question kind of loosely, he didn't answer it obviously in the press conference, but I wonder if that's an option for him, is to say we should, think about slowing it down. I don't know, but all right.
But the whole thing is, are we going to be as successful if we slow down? Because the reason we go so fast is we get the defenses off guard, and they're not set yet, and they don't know what the hell is going to happen, and boom, we hit them real quick. So, yeah.
Well, because you saw what would happen when we went a little slower against Tulsa in the second half, right? I mean, we were milking the clock. We didn't know what we were doing. Like, we were trying to read defenses 19 different times, and you saw that the operation, as they call it, just got out of sync and out of whack. So it's a trade-off. It's a risk-reward. And I wonder, the speed of the offense has been Heupel's. That's his claim to fame. That's his hallmark. That's his thing. So you got to wonder, is he, will be stubborn enough to ever change that? But I guess
slowing down didn't stop the penalties. That was for sure.
That is true. And maybe that makes it worse, right? Maybe they're so used to that tempo. That's what they need. Who the heck knows? All right, last one. What do you got?
UCF has won 13 games in a row against Memphis. The past few years, Memphis has lost some heartbreaking games to UCF. A lot of their players have talked about that in recent days, how they're fired up to beat UCF. Is that something you bring up? That this is a team that's really going to be gunning for UCF? And his answer is, I think you realize that you're going to get everybody's best shot every Saturday. That's how you need to prepare as a competitor. This morning I did. I talked about the 4 previous matchups, how the games unfolded. You've got to be willing to play from ahead or play from behind. Just play each play independently. If it's going really good in a competitive environment like this, you keep your foot on the pedal. If it's not going good, settle down. All 11 operate collectively together as one unit. Settle down and do your job. These games have been wide open. Got to be willing to go in there and compete with everything you've got and play for 60 minutes. I expect it will be a 60-minute ball game.
Look, I don't want to give these guys any material, but we've owned them, right? I mean, we've owned these guys. They've been paying us rent for a long time, and maybe a new coach over there, but I mean, it's basically the same thing, right? They're doing the same stuff, same coordinator or whatnot. So I don't see any reason why we won't own these guys again. The only problem is I got to get my guys to just play without penalties, without mistakes, and I don't know how to do that right now. So I'm just hoping that Memphis will see the black and gold helmets. Look, here's what's going to happen. They're going to come out of the gate. They're going to probably break like an 80-yard run, followed by like an 84-yard run. We're going to throw a pick someplace in there. I like us down about 21-10 at halftime or whatever, something like that. And then the second half, we'll turn it on. Memphis gets scared. They see UCF helmets. And we'll that's what I'm hoping on. That's what I'm planning on, is we'll just turn it on in the second half. Everything will be fine. You guys will come in here and yell at me next week, and it'll be all good. But we own these guys. So short of us committing, another 20 penalties, I feel good about it. But I also feel good we might commit 20 penalties. So
Look, George O'Leary never lost to these guys. Scott Frost didn't lose to these guys. And I'll be damned if I'm going to lose to him. Gene McDowell is the only coach that lost to him. And that was all the way back 30 years ago. It's not happening with me either. All right, I've already beat these guys a couple of times. I'm keeping the streak going. And I'm not going to say anything about it right now, but that's how I feel. And I let the team know that it's not happening with us. All right. And you guys can lose to Memphis when I'm out of here. But right now, it's not happening.
Maybe soon. The rare double translator, right? We got the translator and then the translator of the translator. You don't get that all the time. That's a special feature here on the translator machine. But do you think Heupel really has that fiery speech? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Like, I have no idea. You know, obviously, you and I played some remedial high school sports, right? And you know, we never had any of these high level games or whatnot, right? I wonder if that crap even works, right? The Al Pacino any given Sunday speech is really going to get them all fired up. And B, does Heupel even have that gear if he needs to? I don't even know.
The inches we need.
Every second, every break of the game, yeah.
No, I don't see Heupel as that kind of guy. O'Leary was never that guy. Remember they used to always show O'Leary before the game. He'd give the same speech before every game. I think Heupel is one of those guys. He does the same speech before every game. Protect the ball, get defense, attack the ball, play one play at a time. Same crap. Chenander actually was a big hype man guy, a big pregame speech guy. Frost was okay at it. I don't really think it makes a difference it's cool inside the locker room. Everybody starts getting hyped up and yeah. But as soon as the plays start, as soon as the ball is kicked off and people start hitting each other, all that stuff's out the window. So I've never really bought into it. That you won a game because of a big pregame speech. But I don't see him as that type of guy.
Yeah, that is definitely not happening. But you know, I guess we'll see what we got. You know, obviously, do you think? I don't know how to put this nicely, right? But you know, it seems like the offensive staff, the offensive guys, had a really good relationship with Jeff Lebby. And watching some of that Ole Miss stuff and watching the way that the team reacted to him, do you think Lebby not being there hurts the team at all, just from a chemistry standpoint? Do you think maybe he was kind of like that, you know, that cool uncle type figure that you have, right? When you've got the uncle you can call, and he'll let you take his car and buy your beer when you're 19, that kind of uncle. You think Lebby had that kind of vibe, and maybe that's something that's missing in the staff right now?
It's possible. It's possible. Were you saying Tucker can't be that guy? Or Golesh? Golesh seems like he's that type of guy.
Golesh seems more like cerebral to me, like where he wants to talk about, like, you know, the importance of why the tight end really needs to make sure that they're always, you know, because when hands are on for, like, he seems like he's more cerebral. You know, it seems like he's a fun guy, perhaps, but, you know, Lebby just kind of came across as that, like, you know, the down old, you know, good old boy kind of situation where, again, he was kind of like the uncle you could tell anything to. And, you know, part of me wonders if he was that guy that kind of got some guys motivated and rallied. Now, granted, we had 3 losses last year, so what the hell do I know? But, you know, that's the only difference from the staff perspective is, you know, you wonder if Lebby's personality and lifting out of that room or lifting out of that, you know, out of the locker room, I wonder if it really means anything to anybody.
Yeah, I think the legend of Lebby is growing since we lost to Tulsa, and then we saw what Ole Miss did to Alabama this past week. And actually, Ole Miss has been putting up points. So everybody puts a lot of points on the Gators, but they did the first week too. And really, how much of that is also Lane Kiffin? Because we know Lane Kiffin, for one thing, can put points on the board. So maybe Lebby's getting a little too much credit, and it was on display this past week when we weren't playing, and he did well against Alabama. So I don't know how much stock I put into it.
Well, fair enough. Well, let's see how much stock we should put in you, Mike, because after we take this little break right about here, you're front and center, my friend, on your weekly picks. We'll review where you landed, and we'll preview what you've got. Don't you go anywhere. Mike's picks coming up next on the Sons of UCF.
Mike versus everybody.
All right, he is back. The prognostication segment of the show features UCF Mike. He knows a lot about picks, I guess. Maybe he does. I don't know. I don't know if he does any research. This is like a really private thing that Mike is secretly really good at. I don't know if he spent a lot of time working at this stuff. I don't really know. And we all learn together each and every week because I don't know what he's picking before anybody else here. I don't know if he knows what he's picking before anybody else, but that's not important right now. What's important, Mike, is let's recap your record from last week. Refresh our memories. How did you fare after the games were all said and done?
This is a trend now. Another winning week from UCF Mike. 2-1 last week. got off to a slow start on the Thursday night game. I had Houston and Tulane. I took Tulane with the points. Houston ended up covering that. They won by about 18 points. But I bounced right back and won the next two. I had Navy getting points against Temple. Navy won that game outright. And I had East Carolina covering against the Cows. The Cows were favored in that game by 4.5 points. And East Carolina blew their doors off, so I won that one easy. So on the show, I am 7-5-2, which is pretty good. And in the pool tracker, there were only 2 games to pick from. I went 1-1 in that last week, and I'm still in first place. So I believe I'm 18-11 in that. So those are pretty good records, if you ask me.
And we did. I asked you the question, so I'm glad you had the response. So that means that how many games you got? You got 2. We got 3 this week.
I got 3.
We got
3 more games.
All right, we got 3 more games. So where are we heading? What do you got on your mind?
Don't forget Maestro. Get it going
here.
All right, game number 1. I'm gonna start with the Cows this time. Cows are getting 10 points at Temple. I just mentioned how Temple lost a very tough game. It was their first game of the year versus Navy. They missed a 2-point conversion with a minute to go in that game, a chance to tie it. They were actually trailing 28-17 going into the fourth quarter and fought their way back on the road at Navy. And this game coming up against the Cows will be their first home game of the year. The Cows are worse than I think we even thought. We mentioned they beat Citadel. I still don't even know how they beat the Citadel, because since then they've just been a complete disaster. They lost 44-24 against East Carolina, who has just looked horrid. We saw what we did to them. We saw what Georgia State did to them. Holton Ahlers looked like a Heisman candidate against these guys. 3 touchdowns. And that was the Cows playing at home. This week, the Cows are going on the road. They're a dead team walking. I mentioned snowball effect and while talking about false starts. Well, this is what happens when bad teams. Snowball effect. They got destroyed against Notre Dame. They got beat up against Cincinnati. They got destroyed against East Carolina. It's just going to get worse from here on out with the Cows. Temple wins. Temple wins big, 41-17. Lay the 10 points. Lay 20 points if you want. Temple is going to destroy these guys.
Yeah, the Cows are like a tire fire inside of a dumpster fire, inside of a burning building. I mean, they just can't get any worse.
Yeah, I love to see it. Because when that game comes around at the end of the year, we talk about how this season's going right now. It could end beautifully. This season has the potential to end with us beating a top-ranked Cincinnati team, destroying the Cows like we've been calling for years now, and then winning the conference championship game. That'd be a hell of a 3-game stretch there at the end of the season. So, and with the Cows debacle right in the middle and a little sandwich action there, that'd be great.
All right. Cows go down as always. What's next?
All right. Game number 2. Navy is a 2-point favorite at East Carolina. The midshipmen, like I just mentioned, won a thriller over Temple last week. And we've seen them already this year come back versus Tulane early in the season. They find ways to win these close games. They've won a 3-point game at Tulane and won a 2-point game at Temple. They've been very up and down, yes. Their losses have been ugly. They got blown out by BYU and they got beat up by Air Force. But those are 2 pretty good teams. East Carolina is not a good team. And don't let that game against the Cows last week fool you. They're not good. We saw what they are. Navy is the tougher of the 2 teams. You know what? The game's in East Carolina. It's a 12 noon start. Maybe the Pirates jump off to a quick start and they put up a couple points early. But like I said, Navy pulls it out at the end. They have to win by at least 2. I say they win by 4. I say something 27-23. Navy comes out of Greenville with another win.
Okay. All right.
Game number 3. Oh, boy. The biggest game in the AAC this week. And it's not UCF Memphis.
What?
I'm sorry. I don't want to pick the UCF game. I've jinxed us the last 2 games. I picked us to cover against East Carolina, and we blew that one late. And I picked us to blow out Tulsa, and we couldn't do that either. So I'm not picking the UCF game this week. But the highlight game in the conference this week is Cincinnati, 3-point favorite on the road at Tulsa. Bearcats are 3-0. They're ranked number 8. You know the 3 teams they've beaten to get that number 8 ranking? Austin Peay, Army, and the Cows.
Let's go, P.
I mean, we've talked about Cincinnati. I don't believe they're that good. They're getting a lot of hype. Austin Peay, Army, and the Cows, and they got up to number 8. Boy, where would we be? Both of these teams are coming off a bye. We know Tulsa coming off the big win against us. Tulsa wins this game. They can cruise into November. Because after this game, they've got the Cows and the Pirates, the next 2. They'll be in the driver's seat to go to the conference championship game, Tulsa. As crazy as that sounds. They played Oklahoma State very tough, which now looks like a pretty good game. Oklahoma State is a top-ranked team. These guys held them to 16 points. We know what they did to us last week. This game is in Tulsa. I know how hard it is for us to win in Tulsa. I don't know what Cincinnati's history is there, but this is Tulsa's first home game of the year. I'm going to give them some credit here. I think the Golden Hurricane might actually be for real. Maybe our loss is not as bad as we think. And I think Tulsa pulls the upset and wins outright. Give me the 3 points. I think Tulsa wins by 3. 34-31. Cincinnati is a fraud that is going to get exposed starting now with Tulsa.
Wow. Well, that's a lot to unpack here. So Tulsa winning, does that help us or does that hurt us?
All right, I think this can go either way. Because if Tulsa wins out, obviously, they got the 1 spot. Then the whole other thing comes that we need help from SMU to lose a game or 2. We need Tulsa to lose 2 games, basically, for us to pass them. So I don't know if we're better off just having them win out and then go after the other spot, or what are the 2 games they're going to lose? Because if they may lose this one to Cincinnati, right? But I just told you they got the Cows and the Pirates coming up after that. And they have a head-to-head with SMU. So I guess the loser of that game, we could jump ahead of. I don't know what we need. I guess it's, you want to look at Cincinnati. We want Cincinnati to be undefeated when they come to town in Orlando. That's our best shot. But even if we beat a Cincinnati team that was undefeated, and SMU and Tulsa finish with 1 loss, we would lose the tiebreaker to Tulsa. Maybe we'd get it over SMU. I don't know how it works out. It's too many games between now and then to worry about. Too many things can happen. So, I don't know. What are you rooting for? You rooting for Cincinnati to be undefeated? You rooting for Tulsa? I want to play Tulsa again.
Yeah, I'm actually championship game? Yeah, I'm actually rooting for Tulsa. I think, right? And I think it just, because I agree. I think Cincinnati is going to be a bit of a fraud team, and even to your point, even if we beat an unranked Cincinnati, a ranked Cincinnati, undefeated Cincinnati team, now you've got SMU who's in the mix, right? That means that they'll beat Tulsa. Tulsa beat us. I think there's too many dominoes. To your point, maybe it's better off let Tulsa take the top spot, and we have to be the team that we're the second team. I guess we have the road game, I suppose, in the championship round. Maybe that's better than, I think beating an undefeated Cincinnati team doesn't guarantee us anything.
Right, and then we're talking about exercising all the demons, beating Tulsa in the championship game in Tulsa. Revenge. We talk about revenge games.
Ooh. I'll bring back my question. Josh Heupel's tenure at UCF ended tomorrow. He would be what? He would be a god if he was able to go in and actually win at Tulsa. I mean,
for the championship. The 2012 game with the false whistle. The game last year. We still have never won in Tulsa. The game this year to get revenge, to avenge our 1 loss. Say we run the table from here on out. Tulsa runs the table, and we do meet in the championship game, and we beat them by 5 touchdowns. Then does that make up for everything?
Well, no, because now you're forgetting one added element. We're going to need Mackenzie Milton coming off the bench in the 4th quarter to lead the comeback for the victory. That's how that script plays out.
Oh man, there's so many ways that this season can still go, and that's just another one. Us getting revenge, playing Tulsa again, or playing Tulsa again and losing to them again in Tulsa in the championship game, which may get Heupel fired, I guess.
And then we're on to Randy Shannon. Everything's coming full circle here on this week's edition of the Sons UCF, which is not done. We have one more fun segment left. Cow of the Week has done this a few different times. It's going to do something different again this week. Don't move anything. We'll be right back. Sons UCF.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each week for unique yet common sense opinions on sports on the Jeff Allen Sports Talk Podcast. We will break down the sports world minus the hot takes with prominent guests and my stable of sports guys. It's sports conversation the way it should be. Search Jeff Allen Sports Talk wherever you get your podcasts or go to jeffallensportstalk.com.
This is UCF Athletic Director Danny White, and if you don't want to be the Cow of the Week, you need to listen to Adam and Mike on the Sons of UCF. Charge on, go Knights!
Mike and I didn't do much by way of planning for the show this week, so you know what? We're gonna mix in a little rousing game of Cow or No Cow. We haven't played this game in quite some time, Mike, and so I've got just a couple of statements here, a couple of people, a couple of things here. I think I got like 8 of these here laying out. And you get to tell me if these things in your mind are cow or if they're no cow. It's pretty simple. I think you can get this under control. It's been a long time. Have you missed cow or no cow?
Yeah, I have missed it because I told you I never know who to pick for cow of the week. Even though I requested cow or no cow this week for this very reason because I didn't want to do any work. But there was an easy one sitting there. I guess Dan Mullen for calling for a packed swamp and blaming the loss basically because Texas A&M had too many fans. So that would have probably been the way I went. But let's do the cow or no cow. That's always a fun game.
All right, here we go. Here's the first one. Ready? The guy who says "Roll Tide" after everything.
Cow.
Yeah.
Obviously, just because one, we hate Alabama, and yeah, to say it after everything. What's the point of that? We don't say charge on for everything, right?
That's how that works up that way, right? It's like, hey, you want to go to the store? Yeah, sure do. Roll Tide. Like that's how that works. Like it's not, it's not just like charge on when you see somebody in the. I was at Target the other day and I saw some guy walking around with a UCF shirt on and embarrasses the heck out of my daughter every time I do it. So like he walked past and I hit him with a Go Knights and he hit me with a charge on. So it was great. But I don't say Roll Tide. I'm like, hey Mike, you want to do the show this week? Charge on. Like that's not how that works. Maybe it should be. That'd be annoying if we did that though, right?
Yeah, I seem to end a lot of my tweets with a charge on. In real life, I don't actually say it that much. And I'm not really even used to replying with the charge on when somebody hits me with the Go Knights. I usually give them like a fist bump, like, yeah, that's right. I forget all about it. So.
Well, I'm confused because the hashtags and everything that's coming out on Twitter, it's usually GKCO, Go Knights Charge On, right? Uh-huh. In both of the rejoins that we have from Heupel and Danny White, they say it backwards. They say
that's my fault.
Charge on, go Knights.
Yeah.
That's your fault.
I printed it out. Yeah, I wrote it out for them that way when I told them to read it.
So so you think they couldn't modify the script on the fly or
I don't know. I'll take the blame for that one.
Okay.
And
so you're cow of the week?
Yeah, I guess they could have done it the way they wanted to, but they probably just wanted to get me out of their faces as fast as possible, and they said, "Let me read this however this guy told me," and got done with it. Okay.
All right, I don't think I even knew that. So we learned something new this week on the that was episode 35, I think, 34. So again, not that any of you can hear that anymore, by the way. That was like, almost 2 years ago. Wow. All right. A little revelation on the show for those of you who heard that episode, and those who haven't one day, we might bring those back. I think I've done this one before on Cow or No Cow, so stop me if I have. Not putting your shopping cart in the designated shopping cart corral.
Yeah,
Cow or no cow?
Yeah, we've done this. I told you. If it's within a couple spaces from me, I put it in there every time. If I have to go around to another aisle or something, no, I leave it out. There are kids that work at Publix that love to just get out of the store and go collect shopping carts. I know because I one summer worked at Winn-Dixie, and I didn't mind. I got to get out of the store for 30 minutes. Hey, I'm out there. I'm collecting shopping carts, and nobody knows what the heck you're doing. You're walking around killing time. So it gives the kids that work there something to do.
So that's neither cow nor no cow.
No, so,
where do I go?
No, so it's no cow.
No cow. Okay, I won't hit about that.
If you leave it out, whatever.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Having the read receipt off on your iPhone messages. So, when you send a message, some people have it on there where it tells you that they read the message. So not having that feature on your phone, is that cow or no cow?
Oh, I don't think I have anybody where I know that they've read my message. Is that something I have to turn on to know whether other people read my stuff, or that's something that they have to have?
They turn on. So you control whether or not others know if you read the message, but everybody has to control their own.
I'll say no cow. Okay. Because I don't even know if I do it myself.
I don't believe you are one. I think you are just a delivered guy. I don't think I get a notification that you've read it. But I get in trouble. So both my wife and my daughter have their read receipts on, and I don't. And so my daughter will send me a text message, and I won't respond for whatever minute, or maybe I'm on the phone or something. I don't know. And she gets very upset that I don't have the read receipt on because she wants to know if I got the message or not. And I always say, Addison, once I got the message, I'll respond back to you. If I didn't respond back to you, then I just haven't seen the message yet. So I get yelled at every day for not having my read receipt on. So now I turn it on. I don't turn it on just out of spite. But apparently, it's some people really live and die by this read receipt thing.
Yeah, I can see her point, kind of. With your kids, it's one thing. With my wife, she'll just keep texting me nonstop until I actually do respond to something. Sometimes you don't want people to know that.
I know, that's the thing.
Right?
So maybe someone's texting you that you don't want to respond to, right? Maybe it's that crazy uncle you had, or that's maybe if you're a young lady or a young man, you went out to the club the night before, you met somebody, and they're texting you the next day, and you don't even remember who the hell they were, and you don't want them to know you read it. So it could be a dangerous situation there. So I'm a fan of leaving it off. I don't really need to have it on, but apparently it's a thing. Who knew? You have a job. I have a job. A lot of people out there have jobs, hopefully. And one of the big things you get with jobs is people send emails. So a person who starts the email off like this, ready? I hope this email finds you well. Person who starts an email like that, cow or no cow?
Cow.
Yes.
Find a different way to start.
Yes.
That's just filler or whatever it is. I mean, how else is the email going to find you?
Well, if you're not well, odds are you probably didn't get the email. And there's variations of it. Like, hey, hope all is well. Hey, long time no see. Everyone's got that filler message. And I get maybe there's some business pitches that you want to do and you want to try to be super nice and friendly or whatever. But no email has ever found me well. Because if you're sending me an email, you probably either A, want to try to sell me something, B, you need something from me, C, you're trying to tell me something that I didn't do correctly. I don't think an email has ever really found me well, unless it's somebody who wants to sponsor the show or somebody who wants to come on the show. Other than that, does an email really ever find anybody well?
I don't know, but the whole hope you're doing well opening, I'm guilty of using that, but usually you kind of make that into the compliment sandwich where you say something nice at the beginning and you don't know what to say, and then you hit them with whatever the problem is, and then you finish it up with thanks, and I look forward to your response, kind of deal.
Yeah. The hope all is well I think I use that one a lot. I don't hope the email finds you well. It's hope all is well. But I also don't know what I would do if it's not well. So it's a really tough spot in an email. So I'm glad we agree on that. Here's the next one. People who always want to play devil's advocate, cow or no cow?
Cow. If you always want to be devil's advocate, that means you just want to be a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a guy at my work who's just well, not to play devil's advocate. Well, you're gonna play devil's advocate. Do I need you to keep playing Just tell me this is your opinion. You don't need to dress it up with I feel like people use it as a cover, right? So it means they really disagree with you, but they don't want to be like, Mike, I disagree with what you just said. So just to play devil's advocate for a second, right? I mean, why are we advocating for the devil? Hey, I don't understand these things. I feel like devil's advocate is it's a cow move.
Yeah, just come out and say I don't agree with you. Right. Whatever it is, but
that's the straight shooter. People who, especially on people who are on TV or radio or podcasts or whatever, people who call themselves a personality, right? I'm a media personality. I'm a radio personality. I'm a podcast personality. Somebody who calls themselves a personality. Cow or no cow?
Cow.
Yes.
I've never called myself a podcast personality, but maybe I should. Maybe it could be a cow here and there. Yeah, I don't know. Actually, it sounds better as a podcast personality. You get the little alliteration in there. But other than that, yeah, I don't know.
What does that mean,
if you're
though?
saying, I don't know. It was just
Thanks for your analysis. And that's why you're a podcast personality.
I have a job doing a radio show. I guess not a job for us. Podcast, if you have to say you're a personality, you probably lack actual personality. Right?
Oh, wow. That's deep. Okay. Let's move on from this. Ready? Wheat thins.
Wheat thins. I'm not going to say cow. If you like, I don't even know if I've had wheat thins before. I probably have tasted them, but they're not really something I eat all the time. So if you like them, you don't like them.
Not a huge fan. My wife found these, like, she thinks they're like high protein wheat thins, and I'm like, really, it's high protein with 92 grams of carbs, but you do you. And so she's like, yeah, you got to try these wheat thins, or they're protein based. I'm like, well, they're not really protein based, by the way, but sure, do what you got to do. So I just found wheat thins to be an unsightly. I tried one that tasted a little bit like cardboard mixed with a little bit of sugar, probably some salt, and could have been some, I don't know, some mud. I don't know. Did not taste very good.
Well, we already know about you and your picky eating, so I don't know. I don't know if I've had wheat thins. I probably have, but not one of my go-tos for sure.
It's also mislabeling. I guess I get more annoyed at the mislabeling piece because my poor wife's like, "Oh, look, high in protein." I'm like, "Wow, did you read the rest of it?" There's a lot.
Are they thin?
A lot of carbs. Yeah. They are thin. They're crunchy. They're very
made
crunchy.
Of wheat?
The wheat is one of the ingredients. Yes. And they do have high protein, but again, high protein's a relative. I think it's like 12 grams for like 10 chips or something like that, but it's also like 90 grams of carbs. So if that's what you're going after, you might not have actually met your macro on that one. I saw you on Twitter today. I know I'm going to hit the button already because I know how you're going to respond to this one. Alternate uniforms. People who want to wear alternate uniforms, Mike, cow or no cow?
Cow. If you're going the way we went in the discussion today with the all blue jerseys for a UCF team, no, I'm not with that. Alternate can be, if you traditionally just wear black at home and white on the road and you want to throw in a gold jersey as an alternate, I'm okay with that. But alternate colors that are not one of our main colors as the full jersey, no, that's a cow.
Could I argue? Let me play devil's advocate for a second here, Mike. Could I argue the technicality that it's a throwback?
So we once wore a blue jersey?
Well, I mean, we were the Citronauts. I don't know if Canaveral blue was part of the Citronaut color scheme. I don't know if it was like in the tie that Juicer or Squeezer, whatever that guy's name is, was wearing. If it was a throwback, would you feel better about it?
You know what? The Giants pulled that crap for a few years. The Giants traditionally with the blue jerseys and the whites, and then they went to the red jersey once a year, and that was actually a throwback because the Giants actually wore red back in the 20s or the 30s. I guess it was even before the blue, and I didn't like it then either. How are we going to call ourselves Big Blue and then go out there with red shirts? So I didn't like it then. I don't really. I'm not opposed to mixing in the Citronaut. You want to put the Citronaut patch on the shoulder, or you want even put it on the helmet for a game, or call ourselves the Citronauts for the game, fine. But keep the colors, black and gold. I don't want to come out in blue jerseys looking like the Tar Heels. I don't want to come out in orange looking like the freaking Gators or anything like that. Stick to the colors. You want to use it. We had Christian Simmons on the pregame show. He said, and he's the expert, you want to mix it in as a complementary color, as an outline around the numbers or something like that, fine, but not as a whole jersey color.
Wow, look at Mike citing resources here. This is incredible. All right, last one. Cow or no cow? Dwight Howard.
To me, I don't care. What is he a cow for? Because he actually won a championship now in Orlando when I guess a lot of people hate him, huh?
Yeah.
I don't watch enough basketball to care either way. So I'll say cow to agree with everybody else.
Yeah, a lot of people are, they're, obviously Dwight was supposed to be the staple of the Magic franchise, worked his way out to a trade to the Lakers. that ended horribly. Left the Lakers in alerts to go to the Rockets. That didn't go well. And then I believe, I'm going to try to do this off memory, I believe he's then played for the Hawks, the Wizards, the Hornets, and then he found himself back. I feel like I'm missing a team there. Hawks, Wizards, Hornets. I think I got them all. Found himself back on the Lakers in a bench role and has won a championship now. So he's got a ring, Mike. He's got a ring, and Charles Barkley and Karl Malone do not.
He was never really the main guy on any of those teams except for the Magic, right? He was the big star for the Magic. Other than that, I mean, maybe he was supposed to be the main guy.
He was the main guy
the first time.
Yeah, he was the main guy in that 2009 team that got to the finals against the Lakers, and Kobe beat him in 5. And then I think he went to LA to be that, that big man complement, right? That, that Shaq and Kobe, that Magic Kareem type thing with him and Kobe, and they clearly just didn't see eye to eye. Kobe was a guy who wanted to work, and Dwight, by some people's accounts, is not somebody who wants to work. So yeah, that did not end well. He left, and then I think he had a lot of back injuries too, by the way. But I don't know. I mean, I don't really like him personally, so he's kind of a cat of me. But I know a lot of Orlando folks are I don't know how they feel actually about him, because I know he was their guy, and then he left, and so I don't know if water's under the bridge or not. I don't know. He's
old now too, I guess, right? He's been around for a while.
He is older, yeah. He's been on the downside of his career for a while, but yeah, he's definitely up there in age.
All right, everybody hates him, and then I hate him too.
That's what I like to hear. Dwight Howard is cow, and that's cow or no cow, buddy. A couple quick ones for you. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed cow or no cow. I could have sworn I had that shopping cart one in there before, but I wasn't sure, so I left it in there. But it's still always a very fun topic, and so don't play devil's advocate. Turn on your read receipt, and don't start an email off with, "I hope this email finds you well." But look, I hope this podcast found you well, because it's coming to an end, Mike. It's been a glorious 102nd edition of the Sons of UCF. Big game coming up this week. Must win. We got to have this one. Again, no excuses. Got to bring this one home.
Yes, we don't throw out the term must win all the time, but this is a must win. We cannot have 2 losses in the conference and expect to make the conference championship game. We would need all hell to break loose, or we would need the team that's going to be in the championship game to come down with COVID for us to make the championship game if we have a second loss here. So we cannot lose to Memphis if we want the season to go the way we need it to go.
So things are not looking good. So let's just go ahead and go out there and beat Memphis. Again, don't forget, an hour before, find us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and you will catch the live pregame show. If you've listened to this entire thing and you've enjoyed what we've done, feel free, again, head over to any of your platforms and give us a rating, give us a review. We'd appreciate that very much. Make sure you subscribe to the show. Don't be shy. Find us on social media as well. Always like to talk to the fans and talk to some people and talk UCF. That's literally why we are here. Mike, let's reconvene. We got some other fun stuff we're working on behind the scenes here. Hopefully we can announce some of these things to everybody soon. Hopefully they all go in our favor, and can't wait to share some of that news with you all as well. Until then, everybody have a safe week. Everybody have a happy, healthy week, and we're almost to game day. Let's keep charging on here, and hopefully we'll come out victorious as always. Mike, anything you want to add?
Yeah, don't forget, pregame show 2:30 on Saturday. We will be there getting you ready for the game. So you didn't get enough of us now in these past couple hours, you get to hear from us again, and you can see us. So it's pretty cool, and you can interact with us, ask questions, and we'll hang out with you before kickoff.
Perfect. Charge on.
Go Knights.
Yeah, I messed it up there, didn't I? I fooled you again.
Uh-huh.